Good evening. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. I've called to order a meeting of the Finance Committee. Would everyone please rise and join me in honoring our country by saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilors, before we begin, I just learned that the air conditioning has failed this evening. And so if anybody wants to remove their jackets due to the heat, please feel free to do so. Mr. Clerk, agenda item number 1, please.
Item 1, Council on Aging, Janice Fitzgerald, Director.
Hi, Troy.
Hi, good evening.
Director Fitzgerald, good evening.
I'm here if you need me.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, councilors. Hello, Council President. Well, a lot has happened since I was here about a year ago, and what a year it's been. I want to say thank you to my staff for their hard work, commitment, and dedication, who kept things moving in a positive, uninterrupted direction. And a special thank you to my Assistant Director, Lauren, who has joined me this evening. The Council on Aging has entered an exciting new chapter with the opening of our new beautiful building. It is more than just bricks and mortar. It's a space where older adults will gather, engage, and thrive. The new space has become a hub of wellness, learning, and connection. Since March, we have welcomed over 151 new members, signaling a clear message: when you invest in older adults, they show up. As participation grows, so will the needs. Increased attendance means a greater demand for health and wellness initiatives, meals, transportation, outreach services, funds for staffing, maintenance, and operating costs due to a larger, busier facility. Seniors in the community are more active and connected than ever before. We've become more than a place to gather. We've become a lifeline for many. I want to also say thank you to Mayor Sullivan and to Troy and all of you for making this chapter a reality. And I ask for your continued support and partnership in this growing success story. And I'll be happy to take any questions on the budget.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Seeing none, Director Fitzgerald, appreciate your time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
You too. Thank you. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
Department number 2, Retirement Contributory, Jean Martineau, Director.
Director Martineau, good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you, council members. I'm going to give you the same spiel I give you every year, just to let you know what we're all about. We were established in July 1, 1936. We consist of approximately 1,350 retirees and over 3,000 active and inactive members. The City of Brockton, the Housing Authority, and the Brockton Area Transit are all contributing units to the system. Mass General Law, Chapter 32, mandates that our Board of Trustees shall consist of 5 members. 2 are elected from your membership, 2 are appointed by the mayor, and then the 5th member shall be independent of the system and appointed by the other 4 members. It's the board's duty to provide secure retirement benefits to our pensioners and beneficiaries through efficient and careful oversight of investment practices. The daily operations of the office are administered by the executive director and the staff. The trustees meet monthly so that the board may vote on matters of policy and to continue to be updated on topics that come before the board. We are committed to earning and maintaining the trust of our participants through quality customer service and by protecting future benefits in compliance with Mass General Law, Chapter 32, 840 CMR, and case law. The request that comes before you is an assessment, which is developed by the fund's actuary and approved by the Public Employee Retirement Administration Commission, which is PERAC. They're the state agency that oversees us. The request to the city for FY2026 is $17,268,266. Plus, I have an additional assessment of $135,506.75. That additional assessment is funds that will go towards the Veterans Fund In the past, I have not, or the retirement system has not been coming to you asking you for the veterans funds. We've been actually cited in an audit, and so we undertook a big, large-scale exercise to identify everyone who was deployed while in service to the city of Brockton, because if they were deployed, the retirement system needs to get those deductions that would be given, that normally would have been given to the city if they were paid. Most of the time, your veterans, because of the BRAVE Act that you adopted in 2019, are being paid. But you have some long-term deployments that are not, they are not being paid by the city of Brockton. So therefore, we have to keep track of them, of what they would have been paid, and then we have to come to you and ask you for the deductions that they would have given us. So this totals $17,403,772.75.
Thank you, Madam Director. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Farwell.
Just one question, and you can submit it later if you want, but obviously the stock market has a great effect on what we do. And I don't expect you to know what the ups and downs of the stock market have done to our investments, but at some point, could you just send over maybe a one-page summary of where we are with what's happening with our investments, or if you want to comment tonight, that's fine.
I'm sorry, Councilor Farwell, I actually did not print out the report, but if you go to our website, www.brocktonretirement.com, we put our monthly investment reports on there, and you are correct, the market has been very volatile.
All right,
Yeah.
so thank you very much.
Very welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Seeing none? Director, thank you for your time this evening. Number 3.
Number 3, Auditor, Irene Giannopoulos, Auditor.
Auditor, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Honorable Council. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, Council President. I want to present our FY26 budget for your approval. Give you a quick recap of the mission of the City Auditor's Office. The mission of the Auditing Department is to protect the fiduciary interests of the city by providing independent, timely oversight of the city's finances and to ensure that the financial transactions are executed legally, efficiently, and effectively in accordance with Massachusetts general law. So along with thanking my staff, I did also want to thank Dr. Clarkson, the Finance Department, and all of our colleagues here on the city side, and in particular also the school department as well for collaborating with us this year. I won't get into the slew of the list of services that we provide in my office or the 13 accomplishments that we were able to produce this fiscal year, but it goes without saying that it was definitely a collaborative team effort all around. And in terms of the overall budget for my office, we have a modest increase totaling around a little over $80,000 due to now most of our, rather all of our vacant positions now being filled. And I appreciate and welcome any further questions.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. Councilors, any questions? Seeing none?
I do.
Oh, sorry. Councilor Darrencourt.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Auditor.
Good evening.
Obviously, you are leaving us, which
Yes.
is sad. But in the process of leaving the city right now, right, and obviously for the past 3 years, the city of Brockton has been, just in case you see that I put the light so they can see me, because the light in here is pretty bad, and we had a conversation about this last night. Hopefully the clerk will fix it. As we speak, and as you are about to leave, can you say on record that we have no, how do I put this? There is no bill that the city needs to pay for the last year, the last fiscal year, coming into this budget?
We have yet to close the fiscal year, so we do still have some bills in the office that need to be paid, but everything is paid on time.
Okay, let me just put it to you like this. From June 1st to, I will even go further, from May 1st to July 1st, I will take it as if there might be some bills that are pending.
Right.
But after May, let's say April 1st, and back it up, do we have any pending bills that need to be paid?
There are some bills that are still making their way to us. Again, departments have up until June 30th to send us their bills for payment. They also have up until July 15th per Massachusetts general law to encumber their funds for June invoices. So I can go on record in saying that everything that we've received has been paid, but the departments are well aware of the deadlines for getting their bills to us.
But when it's come down to paying bills, right? So how long do we have to pay them? Let's say like 4 months, 6 months, 2 months?
They have until, well, they have all fiscal year to pay them, but to pay July through May bills, they had a deadline of this week to give us those bills. We give a 2-week threshold through the end of June, which they technically can pay until the end of June to pay their bills, to just work with departments to still get bills into us to be paid.
So excellent. So from July 1st,
Right.
2024 to December 31st, 2024, does the city of Brockton have any pending bills?
Not that I'm aware of. We depend on the departments to send us their bills, and we're working with departments diligently to get those bills to us. It's up to the departments to submit their bills to us by our deadlines, and they do technically have up until the end of the fiscal year to pay even bills as far back as July. It's not recommended, but it is possible. That's why we're working together to make sure that we have everything in time.
So obviously you cannot possibly saying that we don't have any bills that might be pending.
No, that would be physically impossible. With
I mean, Mr. CFO, if you would like to comment on that one, I would be more than happy to.
If I could just finish my statement, with
Of course.
26 city departments, 29 city departments,
Okay.
and 26 separate schools with tens of thousands of bills we pay a year.
Understand.
It's super important, I'm glad you brought this up, Counselor, that departments understand that at the end of the day, it's their responsibility to get us their bills as quickly as they can.
So let me just put it to you like this. So technically, right, when it's come down to paying bills, obviously you have a lot to do with it because you have to see them, right? And if in the future, after you're gone, and we see that whomever comes after you, come in front of this council, whomever, the CFO comes in front of this council saying that we had bill that did not pay, and we need to do X, Y, and Z. We cannot blame you for this. We can only blame the head's department. Would that be correct? They would have to take the blame for it, not you.
I would think it would be correct in them being informed with constant communication throughout the fiscal year and several memos that go out from my department when the deadlines are for getting their bills into us so we can close the books on time.
Now, I'll tell you why I'm asking all these questions. And obviously, you've been with the city for a while now. And obviously, you know, we had a deficit. And with that being said, there was a lot of issues that was going on. And some people did not want to take responsibility. And obviously, let me just take my car, for example. If I don't pay the car notes, the bank might come and take it away from me. And if I don't pay my dental insurance, probably not going to have it. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at the city in the same way. And technically, if I have a company and I do business with the city of Brockton, I would hope that I get paid on time. And based on what you are saying is that sometimes, you know, our heads department may not be able to maintain that on time. That could be for multiple reasons. But given the fact that you are the boss, you are the city auditor, and when it's come down to paying bills, you have a lot to do with it. And giving
Correct.
the responsibility that you have. And I just don't want to sit here pretending that I don't know what's going on and assuming that everything is going well, in a couple months down the road find out that we had bills that needed to be paid. And that's what I don't want to deal with, especially given the deficit that we had. And we all can agree that it wasn't nice. And And I think it's up to all of us to making sure that we are doing our due diligence to pay those bills. And I believe this might be the last time I see you in terms of that responsibility. So I think that, it is important for people, who are paying those taxes to understand that it is your job. It is our head department job to do that. You understand?
I do understand that, but it is important to note that it's physically impossible for one person alone to do this. We need to count on the departments to understand our deadlines, to get us in their bills, and we have seen a slew of bills come in this past month. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Madam Auditor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Seeing none? Thank you, Madam Auditor. We're going to move on to Auditor Mail.
Okay.
Auditor Mail, Irene Giannopoulos, Auditor.
Okay.
And good evening, Madam Auditor.
Good evening. We're requesting a budget of $275,500 for our mail this year. We had more expenditures to date in FY25 for the rather large bulk mailings that don't usually occur, like a presidential election. We also had the census this year, which is every 5 years. Last time we had it was in 2020. This year it's in 2025. There was an increase, a pretty substantial increase in residents in the city since 2020 of around 6,000 residents. So the more mail you send out, the more postage you have to pay. I don't anticipating needing that high of a budget for next year, which is why we worked together with the CFO and we agreed that this is a modest budget and a reasonable budget that will cover us well for postage for FY26.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Rodriguez.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question is more for the CFO than actually you, Madam Auditor. Mr. Clarkson, Dr. Clarkson, how come, with all the consolidations of departments that we have done in the past within the city, how come we haven't merged this under the auditor's department so that it becomes like a line item or a couple line items within the auditor's budget?
Good question, Counselor. I think because the mail and the telephone have just routinely been under the umbrella of the auditor, it's been, I would say, indistinguishable. So we certainly, from a formatting standpoint in future years, could make it all one budget. I think it's not driven by any accounting principles or requirements, more tradition than anything else as to why these have been separated out.
I mean, I can understand back in the 20s, 30s, when we relied heavily on mail or heavily on telephones and stuff like that, but now we have cell phones, which are somewhere else, not necessarily under this particular thing. So I think for just, practicality in this sense, I think it should just be, within the auditor's budget and a couple line items in there just to get away from this,
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next line item.
Item 5, Auditor Telephone, Irene Giannopoulos, Auditor.
Madam Auditor.
Good day, thank you. We're requesting a budget of $77,000 for FY26 for the telephone. This exists entirely of the city's landlines. We have a contract with Verizon that services these landlines for the city and all phones at everyone's desk. Not much more to say other than this is the phone budget, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Madam Auditor. We'll move on to the next budget item.
Item 6, Retirement Non-Contributory, Irene Giannopoulos, Auditor.
Madam Auditor.
Good day. There's a modest budget that was requested for the non-contributory pensions. This was allocated for an employee that was being paid from this line item because it was post the existence of the Brockton Retirement Board. It's my understanding that we won't need this budget probably for FY26, so that could be amended going down the line, but it is a modest amount, and again, I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr.
Dr.
Chairman,
Clarkson.
if I might just add to what the auditor said, we have done some research and do believe, and I will confirm this before your Monday night meeting, that the person who was receiving this no longer requires receipt of the funds. so that we can suggest that this be cut during a meeting on Monday, but I'll confirm that and convey that to the clerk before Monday.
We'll stand by for that. Thank you. Seeing nobody else, we'll move on to our next budget item, but Madam Auditor, thank you for your service to our city. It's so appreciated, and good luck, Godspeed.
Thank you, and thank you to the council for your unwavering support, and I'm definitely going to miss all of you, and thank you to the taxpayers for your support as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice job, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a
before you leave-
moment of personal privilege?
Yes, please.
Monitor, if you could stop for a minute. This is your last official meeting here at City Council with us. I can't thank you enough personally for all that you've done for us, especially in the Accounts Committee, and I want to present you with an official citation which reads, "To Irene Giannopoulos, in recognition of her service to the citizens of Brockton as the auditor. We thank Irene for her intelligence, integrity, and perseverance in the face of turbulent times. Brockton City Council wishes her continued good luck in her future endeavors, and be it further known that the City Council extends best wishes in all her future plans. That this citation be duly signed by the President of the Council, attested to by the City Clerk, and a copy is signed by the Council President, by the Clerk, and by me. And I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. Number 7.
Item number 7, Fire Department. Brian Nardelli, Chief.
Good job, Wade.
2-minute timer is on.
Chief Nardelli, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, councilors, and thank you for having me. I will start out with a brief statement and thank yous, and then I'd obviously be open to any and all questions. I first and foremost want to thank the mayor and Dr. Clarkson and you as the legislative body of the city for your unending support of the Brockton Fire Department, its members, their safety, and your commitment to staffing. I think over my tenure here, over the last 4 years as the chief, we have been able to grow this department not only in staffing, but we've been able to grow this department in its wealth of knowledge by some of the endeavors that we've brought forward to have you and allow us to move into that area through different types of funding. That begins obviously with the mayor and the CFO, and as we move through that, I end up in here speaking to you folks, and your questions are always taken to me. I know we've talked about this in the past. I love talking about the fire service. So when I come in here and you have questions for me about what is actually going on in the fire service, I really love it. I'd like to thank, obviously, my command staff that is by my side every day and is able to assist me in the decision-making processes I have. I would really like to thank my staff at headquarters, Suzanne Backoff, Maureen Hardeman, and Melanie Gomes. They are assisting me in operating a $37+ million budget every day of the week, 365 days out of the year, and that's yeoman's work. There is a lot of moving parts that go into that, and I appreciate them greatly. And most of all, I'd like to thank every member, man and woman, of the Brockton Fire Department for their unending dedication not only to the department, but to the residents of this city in keeping them safe. As I move through my career as a backstep firefighter to a lieutenant to a captain, you see the department in different lights. And some of those lights are very segmented. We work not in silos, but we see it from our perspective. It has been my honor over the last 4 years to do it from the chief's seat and be able to see the bigger picture and understanding what the men and women of this proud department do every day. Amazes me on a regular basis. I really am grateful for every single member I have. This last year has been a good year. We've been able to do a number of different get a number of different things done. And I'm not going to go through, obviously, the accomplishments. Those are right in the budget book, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about them. But some of the things that I think are very important, you see the advent of lithium-ion batteries, and I have two deputy chiefs that have taken this bull by the horns, and Deputy Chief Galligan and Deputy Chief Marchetti, who are basically moving this agenda forward, not only in the city, but throughout the Commonwealth, most in New England parts of the country. I have a grant writer in Deputy Chief Albanese that has brought millions of dollars to this city from the federal government and the state government to make our agenda move forward and allow us to be able to do the things that we need to do. In saying all those things, and just to harken back a little ways, the early 90s were a very difficult time in the city of Brockton. And we struggled greatly. And no one was coming to the Brockton Fire Department asking us for what we thought. We were in a different world. We were in a survival mode at that point. It makes me proud every day when I have chiefs reach out to our department to see how we're handling a certain situation, whether it be a personnel issue, budgetary issue, and especially operational issues, because we've been put in the position to be able to do that because what you folks allow us to do every day. So I will end with that, and I would be more than happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Davenport.
Chief, good evening.
Good evening, Council.
Obviously, you probably heard what I asked the auditor. Just in case you don't hear me, I'll speak slow.
Yep.
Hopefully, that will make it much easier for you to understand. So, in terms of like paying bills, and obviously, you know, the auditor has the obligation to making sure that your account, right, has enough money to pay these bills. As we speak, based on the question that I asked her, from July 1st, 2024 to December 1st, 2024, do you have any major bill that you haven't paid?
That's a negative.
So in terms of your department, so you guys are all set to go?
We have some minor bills. I was listening to the question of the auditor, and if I could explain, some of the things that we run into in the departments are, especially with specialty items, it is difficult to get invoices. In saying that, you know, WB Mason, the bills like that. Mm-hmm. Certain places that we do business on a daily basis with a number of different things, we get a bill right away. But if I am ordering a specialized tool, that bill doesn't necessarily come maybe for a month or so after we've actually even received the product. So the auditing department has to deal with that with me, unfortunately, because now I'm waiting and I'm hammering them for a bill, and it doesn't always come right away. We are in very good shape. Laureen Hardeman, who does all of our accounts payable in the office, is Johnny on the spot with the bills, whether we're encumbering money towards the end of the year because we're waiting for that bill to make sure we're precise in what our numbers are and knowing where our bottom is in a certain line item account. We go through the last 2 weeks have been organized chaos in the office because that's what we're trying to find out. We're tracking down the different vendors that we work with. But I can tell you with most certainty, most every large bill, we could have, small bills right now because of obviously energy bills and things like that go right up to the end. We encumber those monies ahead of time, and once we get them, they're then sent right to the auditor.
So excellent. So it is not common for your department to have a pending bill for like 6 months?
No way. So
if something like this happened, there's some issues.
There are. And usually when we do not receive a bill in a amount of time, like a few weeks to a month, Laureen brings that right to my attention and will say to me, we have not received a bill for this service that Mass Fire Academy, we have a major grant right now with training, and the Massachusetts State Fire Academy has been very difficult. Sometimes 3 and 4 months we're waiting for a bill. That is on a grant, so it goes year to year.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter in regards to the fiscal responsibility of the city, because that money is being paid out of a grant. So I'm not as concerned about that. Where it becomes concerning is in the end of July when that grant is up to make sure we have that all paid. We put in because of the track record we saw with them over the last 2 years with that grant, we have actually put in for those funds early, and they've allowed us to do that so we can get paid. We can get the bill early so then we can have it paid for.
So I'll tell you why I'm asking those questions. And obviously, in regard to the deficit that we had, and obviously, some of the discussion that we heard, if not acknowledgement, was the fact that we were paying bills that the city could not afford. And with that being said, we were overspending of what we had. And obviously you have your budget, and I think you and I knew that how much money that you have, in that budget and what you can do with it. So the problem that, I hope to avoid is the fact that, like, I just don't want to sit up here and going through this and knowing that once we pass July 1st and expecting any head department to come and saying that, well, we didn't pay this because we didn't have enough money. And I think that would be unacceptable. And at the end of the day, the resident of the city should be outraged in regard to what happened in the past. So if there is anything that we can do, I mean, you are the boss, you are the captain of that ship, it is important for us to understand, given the fact that the auditor is leaving, right? So the risk, I mean, she acknowledged it, she said it publicly, she said, it's not really my fault, but it's, it's the head department sometimes, they have to take responsibility to send it on time. So with that being said, she's out of it. And at the end of the day, if she's out of it, who's responsible for that? And we cannot play with people's money like that. I pay taxes, you pay taxes, and we have to make sure that when we pay our taxes, right, that money goes to something that is beneficial to all of us. And I am so happy to hear that your department does not have any pending bills. This is a question that I'm going to ask from now on until the end of this, because I wanted to ask, I think it would have been unfair to ask some of the heads department who came before her that questions, because in my view, they are not responsible for that, but given the fact that she acknowledged it, from now on, I'm going to ask every single one of you who's going to come up here this same question to find out whether or not we have this. And if we do, hey, say it publicly, and we'll deal with it. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I will leave it there. Thank you.
If I could just elaborate on that for 1 second, Councilor, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Please.
I think when you speak to a fire chief, or you speak to a DPW commissioner, you speak to the police chief, by trade, we are not finance or budgetary people. The things that keep us up at night are concerns that you have. Going to a fire at 3 a.m., that's in my wheelhouse. That is what I do all the time. That's what I've been trained to do. So I think our antennas and our ears are peaked a little bit more when it comes to issues as you raise. That being said, we are much more, I'm not saying much more, we are very attentive to that, because we want to make sure we do not put the city in a difficult position like that.
Yeah, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Chief.
Chief, I mean,
quickly.
it's a question
Okay.
that I'm asking,
I know.
and I will ask the question.
Well,
Chief,
hurry up, please.
Chief, I mean, I understand, like, the complexity of what is going on within the fire department. So the reason I'm asking you this question, I mean, I know that, I mean, you don't control, the audit departments. That's why we have someone in there that the city is paying to do that job.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you are not, how do I put this? If you have any pending bill, you have to work in collaboration with them to pay that bill.
Absolutely.
So obviously that's not your day-to-day activity. Your day-to-day activity is much more complex than that. But it's a team, right? It's all of us combined.
100%.
So with that being said, when I asked her that question, she said, well, she said she could not possibly saying that we do not have any pending bill, which I think was troublesome, given the fact that she is leaving. That's why I'm asking these questions, and obviously I am glad that you don't, but I'm pretty positive that we do, because I'm aware of it, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Councilor Castro.
Good evening. Thank you for answering my 7 questions that I emailed to you.
You're very welcome. You know I like to talk about fire stuff, so the ones at the bottom of the list were my favorites that I could explain what we do.
Well, I
Thank
was
you.
just going to say, you actually made stealth firefighter bailout equipment, smooth-bore nozzles, and Mercedes hose interesting, and now I understand what they do.
I'm glad you find it interesting, Councilor, because my wife does not.
Well, there's always someone. I just want to say, your department works very hard, and it's a pleasure to work with you, and thank you for defending us from fire and such.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate that, and so do the members of the department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Councilor Farwell.
Just very quickly, Mr. Chairman, and Chief, I'm going to use you and Dr. Clarkson as an example of picking up on what my colleague, Councilor Derenoncourt, said. We're heavily dependent upon the efficiency of a vendor to submit a bill to us so that we can process timely payment. Payroll doesn't matter. You can handle that. You know the firefighters who have been on duty, you know the benefits they're owed under their collective bargaining agreement, but the ordinary maintenance side of the budget, where you order a good or a service, if that particular business has a lackadaisical attitude about submitting a bill to you so that you can process it, then it's not going to hit your desk and it's not going to hit the auditor's desk. Have I fairly outlined the fact that we are that heavily dependent upon the vendors with whom we do business?
I can take that, and then certainly the chief can jump in. I think the answer to your question, Counselor, is yes, that's absolutely correct. But we do things internally to ensure that we are staying within the prescribed budgets. You've seen, and I regularly send you reports that we produce on a monthly basis that track very specifically in each department the departmental spending, so that we're aware of whether or not there are any amounts outstanding. In addition to that, our auditor has done a phenomenal job, but it's important that you know we intend on and have already put in place a very seamless transition and had a succession plan, as we do in many departments, in place. And our assistant auditor, Juan Gonzalez, who's been with us for 4 years now, started as an intern, has already been appointed by the mayor as the interim auditor. So we expect a seamless transition, and the continued excellence that we saw with Ms. Giannopoulos will continue. And so I don't expect any break in service or in the efficiency that we've seen during the last several years in tracking those expenses and staying on top of paying bills.
Actually, before the mayor might offer a comment, if I'm not mistaken, the auditor sent out a fairly comprehensive reminder to every department head, including the Brockton Public Schools, reminding them to track the vendors with whom we've done business and to get the purchase orders or the requests for payment in so that we can process them in a timely manner in fiscal year 2025. And if the worst happens and we don't pay a bill in fiscal year 2025, the remaining balance in, for example, the fire department budget would eventually become free cash, which would be certified. So it isn't as if the taxpayer would be hurt. If anyone is hurt, it's the vendor who's not getting paid in a timely manner. But we still have the option under the law to pay an outstanding obligation from a prior fiscal year, and I think we voted on that several times here. So I don't want the public to think that somehow there is a defect in our processing of payments or our tracking of expenses, because actually, if anything, the defect is on the vendor not getting things into us in a timely manner.
That's a good point, Councilor, and I'll highlight that you just touched on it. The process through which you pay those bills is intentionally and very public, right? You just mentioned it. So the departments, through me and through the mayor, are required to come before you to expend those funds, so that process of paying those bills is very public and occurs out in the open.
And let me finally say that if there's a vendor that doesn't get paid, who submitted in proper sequence a request for payment, by all means pick up the phone and call the department that you did business with, whether it's police, fire, collector, treasurer. I mean, you know, human error can happen. Somebody might inadvertently file away a purchase order and it didn't get processed, but we certainly are business friendly. If we make a mistake and we didn't pay something, the vendor always should call us and remind us that, gee, I submitted this, but I haven't received the payment. The check hasn't come out yet. So, I mean, on the accounts committee, from what I see, I think we do a very professional job. We can always look for improvements, but I think we do a very professional job at tracking expenses, expenditures, payments to vendors on time, and again, it really starts with the business that needs to get that invoice into us. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead.
No, Mr. Chairman, first of all, let me apologize for the heat in here. Jerry Chipman, our ARPA manager, is profusely apologetic that he didn't reach out to the clerk. It's a faulty item that is under warranty. 2 nights ago, it was cold in here. Tonight, it's brutally hot. It will be repaired. But again, I just want to tell you how sorry I am, but it will be repaired. In terms of the questions being asked, a couple of things. We have a department head meeting every other Wednesday at 9 a.m. in the GAI room, and I want to thank the clerk. He doesn't miss any of them. He's always there, even though he doesn't need to because he doesn't report to me, but Tim is always there, and I want to thank him. But the auditing office is there every single week, and they go over all the bills with everybody. So, it is incumbent upon the vendor to send the invoice to us, but if they are delayed, I know each specific department does a courtesy call, and if we need to encumber it, we would. So again, Irene and her team have been phenomenal. She's on the Zoom every week with the school department that Troy and I are on with Megan Bridges. If we need law to get involved, they have in the past, where we needed to do letters of agreement with the vendors that do the private transportation. But I just wanted to let you know and kind of piggyback on what Troy said. Juan Gonzalez has been an invaluable team member. He is working with DOR on a regular basis with Mr. Sean Cronin. So there will be no letdown when Irene departs on Friday. But she has been unbelievable. But, business will go on, and we'll continue to pay the bills when they come in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor, sorry.
Let me just close, Mr. Mayor, while you're there.
Sure.
We have certain pockets of negativity in the city. I know that's hard to believe, and in politics, it just stuns me that anyone could be negative. But the rumor is that she's leaving because of some catastrophic financial issue.
Not at all. 100% false.
It's just so nonsensical. I want to get it out there. I just want to let you know that's what's circulating through some of the, little pockets of negativity. And I read the reports that come out. I mean, I watch, as much as I like Dr. Clarkson, I double and triple check him. I mean, it's just the way I am, and I just want that on the record.
Yeah, I mean, rumors if I believe rumors, I'd be a judge right now in the Commonwealth, and I'd be working for a sheriff down the Cape. It's rumors. You can't live your life in rumors. They're lies, they're vile, they're toxic, and they're false. I can tell you that as mayor, I've always said family first. Family first, right? That's the most important thing in life. And so when Irene came to me, she is following that mantra, family first. There's not some, bombshell that's going to fall at all. It's family first.
Well, thank you. I just wanted I want that out there because I think it's important as public officials we acknowledge some of the back chatter that goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Minichiello.
Just to piggyback on Councilor Farwell's comments, Mr. Clarkson, did the school issues that we had and the processes put in place with regard to reconciling the sources of funds and the purchase, basically services rendered having to be paid for, the system of reconciliation to make sure that that vendor or that bill is paid and from the proper funding source, so to speak, whether it's a grant, whether it's coming from the city. Is that something that's carried over or part of the system, I guess, in place on the city side in terms of reconciling things now with the schools? Do you want me to rephrase my question?
No. I think I understand the question, Counselor. And I think in response to your question, but in response to the larger issue that occurred a couple of years ago, I think before your very eyes, you've seen how the processes have been improved. In fact, you, as a council, approved of and created a position that we've just filled, which is an assistant city auditor solely to interact with and to provide oversight of the schools. And now we provide you and the school committee with regular reports that detail their spending and the percentage against the actual. So everything that occurs is more open, more transparent, more out there than I would suggest it's ever been. And so you heard the superintendent say the other night, and you heard me agree with her, that the level of collaboration and interaction is greater than it's been. And so everything that occurs not only occurs in the public domain because it's by law, but extra steps are taken to share that information with stakeholders, with elected officials, and with the public so that there's a greater level of confidence in that oversight. And so last year, as you know, partly as a reaction to the deficit, but also as a result of the additional stopgaps that the city put in place for hiring and for transfers, the schools finished with a $7 million, we call it a surplus, on the school side. They call that a deficiency because they're required to spend up to their net school spending. But we went from an $18 million deficit to a $7 million surplus or spending deficiency. This year, they'll probably be a little closer to that target, but still will probably be, and we won't know until all the bills are in, but have some additional funds that will be required to then be moved over to make available to the schools for the following year. So Dr. Tahiliani and her team, they're bringing on a new school CFO, are acutely aware of the importance of that accountability. And we have several tools now at our disposal that really, I think, increase the public's and their representatives here in this room ability to monitor and to oversee what we're doing. When Councilor Farwell talked about the fact that he triple checks my reports and my work, he knows I want that to happen because I want all of you and I want the public to see how hard we've worked over the last few years to improve those processes, to make things better, and to raise the public confidence in what we're doing.
So, Councilor, and I appreciate that answer, and it's an important topic. I just want to keep it on the fire budget.
Okay, so my last comment or question is, there's the reconciliations that now are taking place from the new systems put in place on the school side. Does it translate into also checks and balances with regard to the city side, and in particular, you know, the fire department or the police department or whatever department, so that we know that whatever is being submitted for payment is coming out of the correct pot, so to speak, funding source, and it's being properly reconciled. Did we basically learn something from the schools and implement it on the city side so that the different departments are now have more safeguards in place to make sure that we have accuracy of payment and timely payment and proper funding sources that the payments are being made out of?
Excellent question. I would suggest, Councilor, that those safeguards and those checks and balances were already in place. As you know, that report that I provide to you on almost monthly basis on the city spending, I had put in place several years ago because it's a tool that I have effectively used in other places. And so I look every month, shortly after the first of the month, at every budget, and not only in a macro sense, but I go into the level of detail that you see in this book. My team and I go into each departmental budget every month to make sure that the spending is proper and within those guidelines. And if a monthly budget is over its targeted amount for the month, then we bring the department head in and we say, what's going on? What do you need for the rest of the year? Have you submitted all your bills? And so that exercise has gone on, and that has enabled us, frankly, to have surpluses for the last 2 years exceeding $10 million. So we are vigilant on the city side in overseeing and controlling spending. Then I, in turn, provide regular reports to the mayor so that he's in tune and he can ask questions. And so I would say the level of scrutiny and oversight on the city side is outstanding and again, vigilant.
And I'm glad that is the case, and I'm glad that we are stating that for the record to the public, so they hear that. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the leeway.
Seeing no one else, thank you, Chief. Thank you for your appearance this evening.
Thank you.
Move on to the next item.
We have the planning board. Tony Goncalves, chairperson, and I believe sitting in for her is Mr. Jim Sweeney from the planning board.
Mr. Sweeney, good evening.
Mr. President, councilors, pleasure to be before you. I'm standing in on behalf of the Madam Chairwoman. I'd be happy to answer any questions, although I'll be relying heavily on Mr. Clark and Mr. May.
Councilors, any questions on Planning Board? Councilor Castro.
Yes. I'm interested to know why the overtime has increased so much. It's gone from $2,000 to $5,000. What are you using those funds for?
I can answer that question, Councilor. Generally, the overtime funds for the planning board are used to support meetings, the taking of minutes, and the administrative support that's required for those nighttime meetings.
And you're expecting to have more?
A lot more meetings this year, yes, ma'am.
A lot more? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you for your time this evening, Mrs. Sweeney.
Appreciate it.
Next agenda item.
Planning and Economic Development, Rob May, Director.
Director May, good evening.
Good evening, councilors. How are you all?
Good, and yourself?
I am very happy to be here with you as we wrap up this current fiscal year. You can see from the department's accomplishments that we've had a very productive year. As I mentioned to Councilor Castro earlier today, we have projects going on in every single ward of the city, east and west, and we're excited to be able to continue those activities. And if we can do something about these interest rates and lumber tariffs, we will see a lot more construction going on in the city of Brockton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. May,
Yes, sir.
in your budget, you actually have a new line item, or new category called Housing and Urban Development Grant Funded Positions.
Yes, sir.
This is new to us this year. Could you just tell us a little bit about, why we're spending $246,000 for?
We're providing this information for the first time on under personnel services because last year the city rightfully took back control of its federal community development block grant and home investment partnership funding that used to be administered by the Brockton Redevelopment Authority. They're now back within the city's control. It just kind of streamlines the process a lot more. There's not a middleman in the way of making decisions and of providing accountability to both the federal government and the people of Brockton. So we've listed these positions here. Even though they are 100% paid for by the Community Development Block Grant and by the Home Investment Partnership grants that we receive from the federal government. But it shows that these are positions under my purview and part of my team.
And with that being said, I don't think the BRA board is fully staffed. I believe there's either one or two individuals on that board.
I believe there is currently, I know that there is one current BRA member, board member, and the mayor is in the process of nominating.
There's two.
Two more?
There's two more coming on, yep. One I filed the other day.
So I hope that came through. Yes, there are more being promoted to the board.
So there's two now, plus two more coming on, and a fifth one coming on board?
Fifth one is appointed by the governor.
Okay. So how are they deciding on what gets voted on or not, since you technically do not have a quorum on that board?
The board is independent of the city. It does not operate through the city. It's not getting any resources from the city at the moment. So when the board is fully constituted, it will have the ability to do everything that the redevelopment authority is responsible for through state legislation. So that's why we're restaffing, the mayor's office is reappointing people to that board.
So right now, basically, a lot of that work is just stagnant, waiting for the board to be reconstituted, as far as that's what you're saying?
Yes, there are some grants that the state made to the redevelopment authority. And before we lost quorum on the board, the city had signed a memorandum of understanding with the board to manage those grants that are coming from the Commonwealth that support two major development projects. One is the redevelopment of the CSX yards, Trout Brook, and the other is for the redevelopment of the Thatcher Street Convent, and both of those will be managed through my department.
So have we covered both of the grants that we had either lost or in the process of losing, both the home and the lead program?
We have the home and the CDBG. The lead grant expired, and I don't know when the next possible application deadline or date is going to be. There's a little bit of turmoil in Washington right now, so I don't know when that will be open up.
Yeah.
We do intend on applying.
Okay. And my final question is, what's going on with the Sycamore project?
Sycamore Grove, the mayor has been working with Jerry from the ARPA implementation team and has allocated funds towards the sprucing up that project. We are not able to go forward with the full renovation of the project as it was originally planned, but we think over the next couple of years we'll be able to implement different sections of that project to get it to where it needs to be. But right now there are some funds, I don't remember, 100,000, and there's some additional planning activities that will be going on.
So do you see that moving forward within what?
I do see it moving forward over the next 2 years.
2 years?
The first 100 will be spent this year, and we'll be back before council as we search for new grant funding to implement that project.
But did we not have some opera funds that were designated for that project to begin with?
We do, or did, and I'll ask Dr. Clarkson to.
Happy to answer that, Councilor. So yes, originally there were some, due to some of the other projects when we actually went to bid and understood the scope and the amount of those other projects, the primary use of the funding was for those, and so the additional funding for Sycamore Grove was not available. However, Mr. May is correct. The mayor has set aside some funds to continue the design. There was some original design work, and I know this only because of my oversight of the ARPA funds and through relation to the projects themselves. There are some issues in that general area with some of the properties encroaching on city property and some issues that need to be resolved relative to that. I think there was some brief discussions at the City Council not too long ago. So I think the engineering work is ongoing. I know our project manager, Dan Pilata, has met with several of, if not all of the owners. So the work is ongoing. The requirement of ARPA is that the money be spent by the end of calendar year 2026. So we do still have some time. And so, as we always do, and actually I recently, I think, suggested that we, through a resolve, come before you and report in detail on all of the ARPA money that's been spent so that we can really give you an outline of what's occurred.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Dr. Clarkson and Mr. May, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. And just for your information, Councilor, this coming Monday, there's 2 appointments to the BRA on our agenda. Anyone else? Councilor Davenport.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. May, in regard to your administrative assistant 1 and 2.
Yes, sir.
Are these full-time or part-time?
These are full-time positions, sir.
Oh, yeah, so, and they are in the office, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's say that you are not in the city, out of state or out of the country, and somebody want to reach out to your office. Is there somebody in there that they can talk to?
Yes, there is. There's always somebody in the office. We keep regular office hours from 8:30 to 4:30, just like every other city department. So there's always a staff member, several staff members in the building at any given time.
So from Monday through Friday, there's always somebody in the office?
Yes, sir.
And obviously sometimes they do take break?
Correct.
And I'll tell you one of the complaints that I've received, I mean, especially myself too, that I call your office multiple times. No one picks up the phone. On multiple occasions, I got called from people trying to get a hold of somebody in your office. and nobody picks up the phone. And I call personally, nobody picks up the phone. In my head, and I'm like, maybe some of these
Did
people
the voicemail kick in, do you know, or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But it's not
I'm
one time, two times,
disappointed to
multiple
hear
times.
that.
Yeah, so I
But
believe
We'll
recently...
reach out tomorrow, Friday. I'll reach out to you directly.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Counselor. Counselor Castro.
Thank you. Mr. May, good evening, and thank you for answering my questions before this meeting. So right now, your department is housed off City Hall, right?
Correct. We're at 50 School Street across the street.
Right, and I understood that the purpose of that was to finish out the Brockton Redevelopment Authority's lease of that space.
Originally, actually, it's to house the department because we do not have room in City Hall right now for the expanded staff.
Okay, so when when the work is finished, will all of you return to the third floor?
No, ma'am. We have put out a request for a proposal, and we have a selected vendor to provide office space for the expanded staff. That, again, will have to come before City Council for approval, but it should be on next Monday's agenda if we made the deadline.
Okay, I don't see a lease listed here.
The lease is covered by the Community Development Block Grant Program because 50% of the staff is CDBG directly funded, and we do provide some additional services from regular city staff people, so it does cover the lease of the building and all of its expenses.
So the CDBG funds can be used to cover not just the people who are focused on doing the work, but on all of the rest of the people employed in planning and economic development.
If there are CDBG eligible activities that they are doing, so for example, our conservation agent is working with us on a parks improvement program. Those are CDBG eligible activities, which we're applying for both state and federal funding for. So those that allows us to cover that expenditure. Our business outreach efforts, our facade program, things like that, or whether we have to make maps or do large planning sessions. There's a lot of people involved on the city side that have enough crossover to be able to use the CDBG funds for that.
Overlap.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
As long as it's not general governmental services, but there's a portion of their activities that are involved in delivering CDBG activity.
All right, I understand.
projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll wrap up that line item. Thank you, Director May. Appreciate
Thank you very
your
much.
time. Agenda item number 10.
Item number 10, the Conservation Commission, Joyce Forrest, chairperson. I believe, Mr. Mayor, my mistake tonight, we put Ms. Forrest on tonight's agenda. They meet tonight, so she did send a letter, but it's actually better. The budget is done under Mr. May's office, so.
Director May.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. Glad to be back here and representing the commission. They've had a very productive year. We've added a new member, and we're very excited about that. And we continue to advance projects throughout the city, and including working with our Parks Department and the Wildlands Trust at the DPW Field Park, and other green and heat island effect projects that affect the city. Thank you.
Councilors, any questions? Just have one question, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
How's our new ordinance regarding the Conservation Commission adding new contractors to go over different plans submitted to Concom?
Take the fifth. No, it took a while to get it set up and running, but it is running smoothly at this point.
Well, I appreciate getting that up and running. Thank you, Director May. Seeing no more questions for Director May, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you for your time, sir.
DPW Commissioner, Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Commissioner Hill, good evening, sir.
Good evening, councilors.
Floor is yours.
I'm just going to loosen my tie a little bit here. It's a little hot.
Never let him see you sweat, Mr. Commissioner.
All right. So thank you all for having me. I'll give you a brief explanation to the Commissioner's budget. You know, the primary role of the Commissioner's budget is approving contracts, engineering and construction services. Obviously, with the final recommendation of the mayor, we recommend infrastructure improvements, equipment acquisitions, utility systems upgrades, including proposed adjustments to the city's water, sewer, and refuse rates. We manage our partners with at Veolia Water, who take care of the day-to-day operations at the water and wastewater treatment plants. We work with, the engineering division to manage street opening permits, doing cost estimates for reconstruction for the Chapter 90 program, and maintain all DPW personnel records. This year, we've taken on the role of two-way traffic on Warren Ave. It's going pretty smoothly, and that's about all. I have plenty of budgets here to go through, and I don't want to bore you with the rest, so I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Councilors, any questions on this budget item? Councilor Nicastro.
This is some of the questions that I wrote to you about this afternoon. Commissioner Hill, from the Commissioner's budget, who are the part-time salaries paid to? And that's on page 209.
Yep, I only have one part-time employee that is the former Commissioner Rowley. He serves as a resident engineer, and he's overseeing the two-way traffic project for me right now.
Okay. So how many hours a week?
It varies. He does not work at all in the wintertime based on shutdowns, winter shutdowns with projects, but he typically works about 20 hours a week.
Okay. And the business manager is not paid from the Commissioner's budget?
No, the business manager isn't paid from the Commissioner's budget because the business manager's primary role is to, monitor expenses and revenues. So his primary focus is the revenue side of things, more of an enterprise function with the bills going out, making sure that the bills align, making sure that everything gets paid on time. So the decision was made to pay him through all the enterprise funds.
Okay. And we'll get to those. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did
please,
have one more
go
thing.
right ahead.
Forgive me. So your list of services includes overseeing the Thatcher Street landfill. So what do you do for that at this point?
So we oversee the contractor. We use a company called CEC. CEC maintains all the inspections at the landfill. They go, they monitor the flare at the landfill. They do all of the visual inspections of the fence in all the areas and identify any issues that may occur with, with the liner being exposed or with, holes in the fence. We do all the repairs to the fence, but most of that other work gets paid for through a fund that we have for the landfill.
We have a fund for the landfill?
We do. We get a lease payment every year from Onyx Renewable Energies. They operate the solar field on top of the landfill.
That was my next question, because I found an article from 2017 about putting the solar field on top of Mount Trashmore, and that is still happening.
That happens every year. Yep, we have a fixed lease payment. I think it's about $187,000 a year.
So we're paid a lease as opposed to benefiting from the electrical power?
They pay us the lease. We do not benefit from that power. That power is sold off to the grid. Actually, I believe that the school department has a power purchase agreement to purchase that power from Onyx.
Okay, $187,000 a year?
That's for the lease, yes.
That's really good. How much longer does it have to go?
That lease was for 20 years, I believe.
20 years, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next budget item.
Item 12, DPW Engineering.
Commissioner Hill.
Councilors. So it's, at its core, the engineering division helps keep our city running smoothly. We maintain all the important records, property lines, sewer maps, utility locations, zoning maps, and make legal assessments and descriptions. We always make sure when someone's buying a home or opening a business or fixing a street that the right information is accurate. We also support other departments like the assessor's office and the planning board, reviewing deeds, updating maps, and making sure building and development plans follow all the local and state rules. This past year, we've made a couple of pretty decent-sized improvements. We finalized the stormwater management ordinance, which is helping protect our environment and stay in line with all the state and federal regulations. And we've probably got about 50% of our record maps that sit upstairs in the engineering department scanned in a way that they can be read. Years ago, they were scanning maps and records, and you could not scan them to scale. Obviously, technology has come a long way. So every year, we try to pick away at scanning all those maps so that, God forbid, there was ever an issue here at City Hall, that we'd have a record outside of the paper maps. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great. Councilors, any questions on DPW engineering? Councilor Farwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, sometimes I don't know how to be delicate. I know what the city engineer does on paper. What does the city engineer do now? If I asked you, what are the 5 most significant projects the city engineer tackled in the last 6 months, what would they be?
His primary role is reviewing plans when they go to the tech review, making sure that all the plans are, compliant for stormwater issues, making sure that all the grading on the maps is accurate, and approving plans to move forward.
But that would limit his duties to only those issues that might rise to the level of tech review. And I did receive an email before I came here this evening, and some of it, as you know, I think I copied you on it. So if we're turfing off issues to Apex Engineering, whoever that may be, I guess my question is, and I could do a public records request, in the last 6 months, what paperwork would I see generated other than tech review by the city engineer, and why can't the city engineer do some or all of what we might turf off to Apex?
What we found, Counselor, with the stormwater issues, when we changed the Stormwater Commission, the Stormwater Commission obviously is a body of three residents and 2 people from the city of Brockton, none of which that have any engineering experience. We were looking for an independent view. A lot of the plans in the stormwater purview that were waiting on permits had a lot of technical issues, and there was a lot of back and forth, and projects were sitting kind of stagnant. The decision was made not by me, but it was a recommendation by me to have an independent engineer come in just to clear up the backlog. There are projects that have been kind of sitting for a while, and there's a bit of frustration from the developers, understandably, and I'm not an engineer, so an engineering opinion or an independent engineering opinion was needed, and the only way we could get that would be through a consultant.
But we have one on staff, and so I guess my question is, And I don't want to micromanage DPW engineering, but if you have X number of projects coming in that require city engineer scrutiny, it would seem reasonable to me to sit down with the city engineer and say, well, I would expect you in the next 4 or 5 weeks to be able to handle X number of projects. And I just don't get the sense that that's being done. I mean, look, there's a lot that you and I aren't going to get into tonight, because I don't want to get into personnel issues. But we need some attention in that area.
I don't disagree.
We either need some attention and improvement, or we need some draconian changes. And this is the first budget where I want to get into something philosophical that, actually, it's not philosophical, it's real world, and Council Lally and I have talked about it. You'll notice on page 216, under personal services for engineering, city engineer, we're charging 50% of that person's salary to stormwater. So here's my problem with that, and it carries across some other areas. We have a city, we have a general government infrastructure. We would have a city engineer even if the feds hadn't come up with this, I don't want to say crazy, but this rather abstract stormwater issue. By having the residents pay their taxes, which they do, to support general government, but then by going back and taking 50% of his salary out of stormwater, which means we have to enact fees sufficient to recover those funds to pay him, in my opinion, it's double dipping. In my opinion, by any other measure, we're asking the residents to pay twice, because stormwater, his engineering is not a consumer issue. They're not flushing a toilet, they're not taking water. And so when we go through this budget and we're back charging different issues to different enterprise accounts, that requires us to have enterprise fees sufficient to meet what we're doing, but the public has already paid in under for general government issues. And I don't expect this to be answered tonight, but I want my colleagues to be aware of it, that in my opinion, and I think I raised this a year ago, Dr. Clarkson, it's double dipping. It's saying, okay, we expect you to pay your real estate taxes or your other financial obligations for the support of general government. But then we're going to take some of that general government administrative work and we're going to offset some of the costs by taking money from an enterprise account. And it just bothers me because I know some people in the city, they're up against it. I mean, they really are. And we've got water fees that need to be raised. We've got trash fees that allegedly need to be raised. And so I'm raising this now, and I want it on the record. Commissioner Hill, I have enormous respect for you. Snap, growl, and get some work done with some people that need the fire lit under them. Have them earn their salary. Have them do the work. If they don't want to do it, document it and get them out the door, because I think the taxpayers deserve that, and I think in fairness to the many hundreds of other city employees who come in every single day and do their best, you know, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. I'll leave it at that because you know where I'm coming from. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll wrap up that budget item and move on to the next one.
Item 13, DPW Highway. Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Commissioner Hill.
So the main goal of the Highway Department is to keep the roadways safe, clean, and accessible all year round. That includes everything from snow and ice removal, filling potholes, sweeping streets, maintaining sides, sidewalks, streetlights, and even planting trees. We respond to storms, clean catch basins and rivers. We see a lot of recent issues with heavy rain events. We sweep the entire city 3 times a year now, in-house, and we, monitor and watch all of the contractors, as well as plowing ourselves during a snow operation. This past year, we've had multiple river cleanups, cleaning trash and debris out of several different waterways. And thanks to grant funding, we were able to purchase a street sweeper, which will be a major upgrade for us, not only cleaning the streets, but allowing us to address weeds in the sidewalks. It's quite a machine, and when we get it, I'll be happy to show everybody. But other than that, we work with utility companies and consultants with tree removals, drainage improvements. We assist in outfall sampling and clean drainage easements. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Councilor Nacastro.
Thank you. Good evening again, Commissioner Hill.
Good evening.
So my first question that you're prepared for, because I sent it to you, is on page 220, under your objectives, the 6th objective is increasing employee morale. And so I have to ask, how are you doing that? How are you addressing that?
So, I mean, the easiest way to me anyway, being somebody that was out in the field, increasing morale is not always an easy task. But, you try to provide people with the best tools and the best opportunities that you can. So we've been trying to keep our equipment updated, giving them a safer place or safer equipment to operate. We've done a couple of employee appreciation cookouts. We've, offered trainings that haven't been offered in the past to employees for, chainsaw operations, bucket safety up in a, 60, 70 feet up in the air in a bucket truck. And we take their insight, because we have a lot of talented people that can do a lot of things. So we try to engage with everyone. And we take all of the suggestions, and a lot of times things work out. So it makes everybody kind of feel involved.
It sounds very wise. Thank you. And then on page 225, under purchase of service, your paving number is next to nothing, and it's being reduced this year. And how could that be?
Yeah, I can answer that one, and thank you for sending the questions ahead of time, Counselor, because it afforded Pat and I the opportunity to discuss these and do a little research. So a couple of answers to that. As you can see, the current budget is $362,000. It was reduced to $300,000, and that was simply a function of balancing the budget. And in each budget, we have to make the numbers work, and so a small reduction, I would say, of 62,000 was affected there. But a couple of mitigating factors. Pat obviously has substantial Chapter 90 funds that he uses for paving every year, so I don't want anyone watching to think that we're only spending $300,000. And Pat had some foresight a couple of years ago and asked you to create a paving and road construction revolving fund, right, where some of the funds from companies go in, and that fund actually has about $440,000 in it as well. So we do we're developing additional funding sources, knowing how important paving roads is to all of you and to the public.
Okay, that's better. Thank you. On the same page, 225, the last line item under purchase of service, street and drain cleaning, and there's nothing listed. And then on the other side, the next page, page 226, under goods and supplies, in the middle of that list, street and drain projects, nothing listed.
So for the service side of that, Counselor, those costs were shifted to the stormwater budget.
Okay.
For the street and drain project supply item, it's not something that we spend a lot of money on annually. We're pretty confident that, that if we need more money, that we can, offset with some of the other supply contracts within the budget.
So the streets are being cleaned internally by the machines we've purchased. We're doing that ourselves. And then the drain cleaning, which is the roto-rooter guys kind of on a commercial basis, we'll pay for that out of stormwater?
That's correct. It's a function of stormwater. It's also part of the MS4 permit that we are obligated to do a percentage of our storm drains every year.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it will still happen.
It is. It absolutely is. The whole problem that we've seen with the storm drain cleaning is that because of the material that's coming out, disposing of the material has been kind of subjected to a little bit more scrutiny than it has in the past, and we've seen the cost of cleaning a catch basin go from $35 a catch basin upwards to $110 a catch basin, and that's for the risk of removal of the debris.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? DPW Highway. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next line item.
Item 14, DPW refuse. Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Commissioner Hill.
That was maintenance.
No, refuse is next and then maintenance.
Yep. Sorry, I had my stuff out of order there. So the primary goal of the refuse department, obviously, I think everybody sees them out each and every day, but we work closely with the Board of Health, with the building department, with the mayor's office, cleaning up a lot of illegal dumping sites. We clean up vacant lots in remote areas. We investigate all residents' complaints, including illegal dumping, and support local cleanup efforts by providing people with bags and with pickers and the waste disposal portion of it. This year it was a tough year for us. We've seen a lot of uptick, I guess, in cleanups with the unhoused people. It's a very small department. There's only nine people, but we do the best we can with what we have. The trash fee, as you'll see in the budget, was reduced a little bit in the budget, the ask, and the reason for that was because last year we finally paid off all of those carts that we purchased, which drew the overall number down. However, we know, and we've had some negotiations with Republic Services to extend the contract that we're in for another couple of years, for 4 years, and that obviously comes at a price tag. So we put the refuse rates in front of the council. It will be in front of ordinance, but refuse removal of trash is expensive, and the product that we have with Republic is probably the Cadillac of all products around the Commonwealth, even because I've spoken with several other people in my role in other communities, and it's a costly effort.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Councilor Texiera.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Commissioner Hill, to be here. And on page 237, indirect costs jump about 42.9%, about $300,000. Can you explain that to us?
230.
While Pat looks, I can assist with that, Council, because Commissioner Hill and I work closely on that figure. So several years ago, we tried to bring some empirical backing, some actual data to support the administrative reimbursement that we charge each of the enterprises every year. And we actually hired a consultant that came in and did a detailed analysis of all the support that the general fund, what you might call the back office, provides to the enterprises. My office, accounting, law, all of those offices. And they helped us develop an actual formula that helps us calculate the indirect cost for all of the enterprises. And so we try to look at the specific cost in each enterprise. And so when we look at the costs for this enterprise, that increase from $700,000 to $1 million, we believe more closely reflects the actual costs that the general fund spends to support the enterprise. And it really relates to something Councilor Farwell was talking about before, because the general fund supports all the enterprises. But it's not only legitimate, I think it's important that those enterprises pay for those services, because if not, then the general fund is subsidizing those services. And in that instance, what Councilor Farwell was talking about can come true, that the taxpayers can be, in a sense, overpaying. So we really try on an annual basis to look at those administrative reimbursements to make sure we're capturing all those general fund costs to support the enterprise.
Thank you, Mr. CFO. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Razak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
So I know you're always great. You always respond to us, especially with, I know you've been dealing a lot with cleanups and dumping. So I'm just going to comment on your objective to upgrade camera system to track illegal dumping, which is really important because it's hard to actually capture that. So my question could be to our CFO, or do we have money? I know that there's, we can work with the police department. I know they had money for some new cameras. Or is there ARPA funds that we could use to upgrade the cameras? Because it's really important. I think that would help with the situation to actually especially there's people coming in from outside of Brockton that are dumping. That's what I know I've been dealing with that up in Ward 7. So we really have to buckle down and.
So we actually, to answer that, Council, we actually have sufficient grant funds to, I guess, establish a more robust dumping camera network. We've been working with a contractor in, what we've seen, from what we have, we've tried them all, right? We've tried dumping cameras. They're good. They do catch some people, but, unfortunately, with the glare and we're unable to get people's license plates. So we moved up a little bit and purchased some solar cameras that run off of virtual networks that are PTZ, built-in Zoom, so we can actually control them. They work, but same problem that we had with the hunting cameras, the glare. So what we've found is that we need to get more of a camera, a plate camera reading system, just to, I guess, capture those particular people that are doing these things. We're working with a company, and it's a big initial investment, so we don't want to rush into it. But we're looking at upwards of $50,000 or $60,000 to get that camera system up and running. We have to get a recorder. We have to get all the equipment. We have to, pay the vendor to set up a system for us to have on our own. Because we've been unfortunately unlucky with the city cameras. Even with the city cameras through the police department, they run into the same kind of things. So it's in motion, and hopefully, I'm hoping by the end of the summer we'll have a product out there and several cameras out on the road that will kind of pay for themselves.
Okay, that sounds great. So this would be a system for DPW.
It would be strictly we would use it
Not
just
with-
strictly for dumping.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. Thank you for that information. I look forward to that, I know, because it's become a really huge problem for your department as well as, residents and business owners, so it's huge.
There's nothing more frustrating than catching somebody and not being able to identify who they are, wasting hours and hours sometimes looking through camera footage, trying to get that one picture, one clear picture. I mean, we've been successful in any money that we've invested in cameras because, it's kind of paid for itself. And sometimes the camera themselves are deterrents, but the past few weeks, we've actually seen people destroying them. So, it's.
Which, if we can get them on camera, that's actually, we can find them, right? Because that's destroying
Yeah, if we
public
could
property.
identify them, yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Castro.
Thank you. Hello again.
Hello again.
So my first question is the chart on page 235. Is that right? It did include a grant writer last year, but this year it does not.
So the grant writer position was shifted to the finance office.
Okay, and that's why.
Yep.
Okay.
And just to follow on from that, Counselor, we have been able to generate sufficient funds through the grants office to support the salaries of both of the grant writers. So we didn't need to carry them in the DPW.
That's great. And then on page 237, let's go back to direct costs and indirect costs, because I just don't understand them.
Okay. So the direct, in an enterprise fund, the direct costs are the cost to fund the operation itself. So in the case of the refuse division, it's the salaries, it's, as Pat discussed, the trash contract, or everything you see in the budget, the lease of equipment, the telephones, office supplies. So anything it costs to run that operation are the direct costs. The indirect costs are the result of that formula that I mentioned in response to the question from Councilor Texera. So those are what in a private company you'd call the back office costs. So the Refuse Enterprise Fund doesn't have a payroll office. They don't have a law office. They don't have a treasury office that cuts the checks. And so the general fund is able to legally charge them for those costs, mostly in City Hall, that support their operations. Also included is the health insurance for the employees of the enterprise. So it captures everything that you don't see in the operation.
So it's like a Schedule 19 for an enterprise.
Yeah, in a way, yes, that's a good point.
Okay, thank you. I understand that. Let me see, did I have one more? I don't have one more because you did explain why waste removal decreased. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Commissioner, for being here. I do see the waste removal decrease on your budget from what it was in 2024. But you know, we do have an order in front of us to increase the trash fees.
So, as I said, Counselor, this year was the end of a contract year. That contract was due to expire. We negotiated an amendment for 4 more years with Republic Services. We had gone through this exercise last year or 2 years ago. We kind of felt out the market, and we knew what the costs really were. And Republic was cooperative in coming back to the table and kind of locking in the next 4 years. So the cost went down this year because the barrels that we had purchased several years ago.
But it's significant when you look at the actual in 2024 versus what it was
Yeah,
this
it's a couple
past year.
$100,000.
Yeah. It's significant.
Yeah, that was that was the annual cost for all the barrels.
Yeah.
Because we provided barrels to everyone.
All right. Well, let me ask you another one. When you put out an RFP to, out there for trash removal, how many respondents do you normally get beyond Republic?
So,
do you get any of them?
So when 2 years ago, when Republic refused to sign the initial amendment, I reached out to all the big players, I guess would be the easiest way to say to it. I spoke with Capital Waste. I spoke with, it's not Harvey, I think it's Waste Innovations. Win Waste. I spoke with, why can't I think of the name of them?
Waste Management?
Waste Management. So all the big players, because honestly, the only people that can compete in this market are the big players, and that's basically, they have the buying power at the, at the facilities where all the dumping happens, and they have the buying power to purchase the vehicles. We went kind of back and forth, and that's when we knew kind of where the market was. We got a better understanding of what the costs were to dump the solid waste, to dump the recycling, and Republic ended up, after refusing to sign, ended up coming back and signing, which gave us 2 more years at that lower rate. However, this time they said they just couldn't do it. So again, I spoke with a couple of the vendors again, and their costs 2 years ago were higher than the cost we ended up settling for.
What about I know there's I know Abington uses a company, I'm not exactly sure which one, and Weymouth is another one that uses a different company, because I see them from time to time picking up trash, the same methods that we use here in the city. Their barrels are much bigger. They're almost the same size for trash and recycle in the sense. What about those companies? Has anybody talked to them and see if there's a possibility?
There's always room to move on the barrels, to be honest with you. I think it would have to come down to some form of an adjusted rate. The contract initially was bid on the tonnage, and I believe it was 25,000 ton a year was the disposal. We get pretty close to that every year. Whether we go over or not, it's kind of a moot point. However, if we were to start putting different barrels out there, obviously I think the cost of service will probably go up a little bit.
Because I think if we gave the residents the option, in the sense where if you've got let's say, a couple on fixed income or something that does not have the amount of trash that some of us might have, and you can keep their so-called their rates down, in the sense, like basically what we do with water, a little lower for those that do not put out a lot of trash, and a little bit more. At least we would be able to explain it to the community and say, look, your trash barrel is bigger, you put out a lot more trash. It makes more sense to increase those on an individual basis than it would be straight across, because when we continue to increase trash rates, we did it not too long ago, and here we are talking about it again, and we've got a lot of our poor residents who are on fixed income having a tough time, and they look at it as an increase. It doesn't matter if it's $100 or $5. It's an increase that we're putting upon them, and it does not bode well for us as a city, in the sense, because it seems like we're going back to the same source. You look at what we did. Stormwater. Here's an extra fee. Your water fees went into effect. We're charging a fee that went into effect. Here's your sewer, also getting affected by it. Now here's your trash that we increased not too long ago. Here we are talking about an increase again. I think if we can differentiate between the two, so that it does not affect the individuals that do a lot more recycling, take care of their trash, in the sense, but then give them the option of, hey, you want a bigger barrel, it's going to cost you this much more. And since the tonnage isn't going to make that much of a difference, because people are still throwing bags out there, beyond the barrels, so it's not going to make that much of a difference, I think, as far as the amount of trash. But at least it'll give the residents that pause, in the sense, to say, look, they're trying to do the best they can under the circumstances, because it seems like we're between a rock and a hard place when it comes to these trash providers, because it's not like a lot of them knocking on our doors saying, I want your business. But I think if we kind of negotiate some things where we can increase the quantities that people can put out, then at least it justifies the increases in some cases.
Yeah, and we're always working to try to do more, Councilor. When we talk about, and we always look at this, whenever we look at rates, whether it's water, sewer, refuse, or stormwater, right? We're always mindful of people and their budgets, right? So the stormwater fee, as I think Council Fowler was a recommendation of Council Fowler. We wiped out the stormwater fee for all single-family residents. The trash fee, a lot of trash fees get abated for people that don't make a lot of money, that qualify under, I think it's 41C, is that?
I think so.
Under the 41C program through the auditing office. So we always try to work with people with the understanding, that, it's not easy for anyone. But I'm pretty confident now that now we have a document moving forward that's going to kind of lock in the next 4 years, that this next request will be our last for the next 4 years. But trash, unfortunately, is much like biosolids. It's one of those markets that is just, the landfills are closing, and there's no place to put it anymore, and they don't take it overseas anymore. And we used to ship all our recycling overseas. They don't do that anymore. Most of the recycling that people put in their barrels doesn't get reused like the government thought it was going to be years and years ago. So, to have the model of trash that we have in the city, where we pick pretty much everything up, to pay $20 to remove a mattress, that you can't go to the place where they dispose of the mattress, and it's $20 with us, it's $35 with them. So we offset those costs in the budget with the fees. And that's how we kind of try to keep it streamlined. But we do everything. We pick up the white goods. We pick up TVs. We pick up, large goods. We pretty much everything. And there isn't really any other community anymore that does it. So I thought it was more important to kind of lock this one down for the next 4 years. And maintain the level of service that we have, because it does benefit the city ultimately. And people that, we've seen that have, asked about increasing the size of their barrel, what we tell them is go get some green bags. One of those green bags, you can almost fit what you can fit in that trash barrel. And that appeases most people. And then we use the money that we get from those bags, because we get our proportional share of that, to keep those other costs down, to keep the mattresses down, to keep the CRT stuff down, to keep the disposal of paint and tires and all the other goods that we dispose of. We try to keep all that stuff down through that program.
Look, you're not going to hear me complain about the work that the men and women in those departments do, because I know personally the type of work that they are, and I believe that they're the heart and soul of city government in a sense, because when we're talking about city government, often those are the forgotten souls that, very few people remember. And as soon as you have a problem flushing your toilet, you'll remember who the DPW people are.
Agreed.
Which happens more often than you think. And so you're not going to hear me complain about them. And as a matter of fact, and I've called you personally and, thanked you, to thank them for the work that they do in the name of the city, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, from the highway all the way down to the water and sewer and everybody else. I'm just, not disappointed, but a little kind of bummed out that we don't have a lot more takers on the trash side, just so that we can try to lower something, for our residents in this community, because everything keeps going up. I know you weren't here last night, but I brought this up to the superintendent of cemeteries. We're running out of space in the cemeteries. I'm sure we're running out of spaces in the trash world as well. So what are we going to do once we can't dump trash anymore anywhere? So what are we going to do with this stuff? Something has to be done, and I'm glad you guys are doing it, and it's tough. It's tough to swallow when. I run the association up there. Our water and sewer, it's $65, $67, $70 every 3 quarters, yet our stormwater is $100 and something because of the space, the size of the lot and stuff. And that's what I basically tell everybody, that, look, this is what we're doing as well. We've got 3 toilets. There's no cooking, there's no showering, there's none of that stuff. So that's what we pay for water and sewer. But at the same time, we're paying, $150, $175, whatever the hell it is, for stormwater. That's just the world that we live in nowadays. And I'm glad that we exempted some of it. I wish we could do better in some instances, perhaps where we can, look at is cut some of the costs associated with this. Maybe we can do a little bit better in some instances, because we've got, we exempted single-family homes, but we have people who live in two families, often occupied by the same family, that are now paying.
So single-family, two-family, and three-family, if they're owner-occupied, are exempt?
Totally exempt?
Totally exempt. So when people call for a two-family, it's right on the back of the bill. That's how the ordinance was passed. Single-family, automatically. Two-family, owner-occupied, three-family, owner-occupied are exempt. So what we ask people to do when they file for abatements is just provide us with some documentation.
But they're still getting bills in some instances,
They
and
will
they
get
have
the
to
bills.
contact.
Yeah,
They have to
and then
contact.
we have them abate, because we can't just randomly abate properties that we're on, it's probably going to be a once-a-year check, right? Like it's hey, here's your stormwater bill. If you're still occupying the two-family, or still, if you're, the owner and you're occupying the two-family, owner occupying the three-family, you just need to send us documentation and we'll remove it.
Yeah, because I do know some people in the community that actually were billed for two families, owner-occupied two-family individuals, and I think they paid it.
Well, if they paid, I mean, we can certainly abate the bills. We've abated probably a couple of hundred bills on that premise, of the owner-occupied.
Yeah, finally, again, please thank the men and women in your department on behalf of all of us for the work that they do for our city. Thank you.
I'll make sure that I do.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Mayor?
If I could.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on Councilor Azek's conversation about illegal dumping, I have to give a shout out to Attorney Stacey Verdi. She's been suing a lot of people over in court. She's probably, just this year alone, received 12 settlements. Again, we have to go through the rubbish. I think out of those 12 settlements, 10 were from outside of Brockton. They came here. One was as far as Fall River. They came all the way up Route 24 to dump in Brockton, but we caught that person. So it runs the gamut. She settled last week just a $700 one, but it's been, tens of thousands of dollars as well. And the last thing, just on the refuse, about 4 months ago, I went to a shredding event at Rockland Trust outside of Brockton, in Rockland. And when I came back, I asked Pat if we could tee one up here in Brockton. We've never done it before, free shredding. So it's this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Any Brockton resident can come to boxes of paperwork that will be shredded free of charge. Old taxes, old checks, old bills, whatever. But it's at Oak Hill Way at the depot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else on DPW refuse? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next budget item.
Item 15, DPW Maintenance, Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Commissioner Hill.
Councilors, very, very small budget. You're not going to see very many changes. There's only two people within this budget, with a third, which was kind of a hope for us, but I don't think it's going to work out, unfortunately. So we plan on filling that position as a regular mechanic. But other than that, small budget, and happy to take questions.
Councilors, DPW Maintenance. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next budget item.
Item 16, DPW Water, Patrick Hill, Commissioner.
Commissioner Hill.
Councilors, let me just catch up here. So the mission of the water department goes far beyond just delivering water. My guys maintain 320 miles of water mains, 23 active service accounts, and thousands of hydrants and valves across the city, and a lot in neighboring towns. We offer emergency services, repairing broken water mains, repairing broken meters, maintaining all the meters, backflow prevention. We do leak detection, and preserve all the distribution of the water throughout the city. We monitor and manage 3 critical water sources: Silver Lake, which obviously is our primary source; the Brockton Reservoir, which currently is offline due to PFAS issues; and the desalination plant in Dayton. Our contract operator, Veolia, does all of the treatment at the Silver Lake facility in Pembroke, and we monitor all of our storage tanks and security through a SCADA system that is constantly being updated. This year, we completed a critical upgrade with the finished water pumps at the Silver Lake facility, and we're looking to, this summer, replace the water main on Montello Street from Crescent Street to Lawrence Street. That's...
Thank you. Councilors, DPW Water.
I have one question, actually.
Councilor Tavares.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you for being here. Actually, I think I kind of send you a couple emails. Even I see like the president, the council, you never return my email back. I got like, a couple complaint and then some situation like, about the water bill. For some reason, she said she got $14,000 for 1 month water bill. What I do, I advise her to hire an expertise to find out what's wrong with the meter, all that. She does spend so much money on the hire and expertise. They do find out there's nothing wrong with her meter. Then I did advise her to send all the approval paperwork, and then I email you. And for some reason, she does feel like a neglect. No one is literally working with her. And I don't know if you saw my email.
So when it comes to water meters, when it comes to water bills and accounts, we take a lot of pride actually in what we do. We monitor our system through a program called Census Analytics. So Census Analytics monitors all the meters that are out in the system, and it tells you when a water meter may be using too much water, when a water meter may be spiking for a particular amount of time. And we actually go even a step further and send people out these leak letters. I think people get frustrated, because the expectation sometimes is that, oh, geez, if I present my water bill and I have an issue with my water bill, there's going to be something that people can do. The problem is that we can almost see every single drop of water that comes through every single meter. If there's an issue with the meter, we're happy to accommodate people, and we go back and we look at their bills and we make adjustments. But if we have a meter that's out in the system and the water's going through it, the water charge, if the water went through the meter, unfortunately, we have to charge them. We do give people an opportunity to file for abatements if they had, say, a leak that they can prove that a plumber was there and fixed the leak. But most of the time, I will say that it's a toilet leak, and people don't, I guess, understand the amount of water that can go through a toilet when a toilet flap is not placed down in the seat. So, we've seen people get upset about, $1,200 water bills, and the reality is that the toilet just leaks and leaks and leaks, and you never see it. Because the bowl fills up and it empties. It fills up and it empties. It fills up and it empties. So, we try to be as understanding as we can, but there is just some things that we can't, I guess, move on because it's not fair. We're the same across the board with everyone. So we try to, maintain a fair level, but there is only so much that we can do because we are providing a service, and it does cost us money to get it there. So. And oftentimes when people complain, they've received 2, 3, 4, 5 leak letters sometimes in a 3-month period, and we don't get any response until they get the bill.
Like in this case, she does have one family, it's 3 people live in the house, and then she does receive $14,000 water bill, even though she's hiring someone without having money, low-income people, single mom. I think it's something like, you guys should literally not neglect her, kind of work with her, or send some expertise, whatever, because in the day, it's very extra stress, No,
I mean, it's a stressful thing, right? When you get a high bill, it's a stressful thing. And we try to work with everybody and help them understand what's going on. The problem is once you get beyond that water meter, it's a plumbing issue, right? And we get a lot of calls that people say, oh, geez, I had a plumber come out, and there's nothing leaking here. But, when we go there, we can watch the water meter spin and spin and spin. So we try to be as respectful and as prompt as we can. But, the graphs and the way that technology is nowadays, it's very difficult for someone to come to me and say, hey, no, geez, I didn't use any water. I mean, we see a lot with people that have irrigation systems. Oh, I don't water my lawn. Well, geez, every day your water meter spikes from 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and if you drive by that house between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, you can see the sprinkler go.
All right,
And then once you get to certain blocks, it builds up. But a $14,000 bill typically is because someone may be a little bit behind on paying the bill.
Instead of thinking about maybe, I'm going to resend you email again with all the paperwork and documents. If you do send someone, just to take a look into this issue, I'd be much appreciated. That's all I want to tell for tonight, because, we should not expect it. Let's look into it. She does need help. And then I appreciate if you guys work with her. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Minicello.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, Councilor.
So I'm looking at the budget, and I see, under desal, $9,222,000.
Yes.
Some odd dollars. Is it time that we have a conversation about next steps in terms of whether or not to take ownership or to negotiate something, ownership with regard to that plant in terms of being beneficial for the city?
Yes, Councilor. We actually, myself and Mr. Clark, Dr. Clarkson, and Commissioner Hill will be traveling down to meet with the principals that own it. They are based out of Miami. They go back to Spain in the month of July, so we'll be going to see them in person to have a conversation in August.
Okay. I don't expect you to give me hard and fast numbers, but if we're paying $9 million a year, would you expect to have considerable savings if we acquired it?
So there's been a lot of documentation to that very question, Councilor, and the last round when we looked at it, and we based our last round, because we try to update our numbers every couple of years. The plant hasn't changed much. Obviously the cost of water is irrelevant because it's coming from the Taunton River. The cost of electricity has fluctuated a little bit. The cost of chemicals have fluctuated a little bit. Most of the equipment is, from what we know for sure, without having done any recent update to an inspection of everything, seems to be, in good working condition. They've updated their SCADA system. They've updated all of their advanced membranes. They've updated a lot of their RO system. So at the end of the day, the last time we did an overlook of what we thought the cost would be based on a market rate loan, assuming that it wouldn't get into the SRF program. So at 5%, we figured that we could staff that building, push 2 million gallons a day, and save about $200,000 to $300,000 a month, pushing 2 million gallons a day.
Okay. That's about 2.4 million, so.
Correct. Correct. And that's assuming not selling any water as well. So, I know there's, the Old Colony Planning Council was here a short time ago talking to us about a regional need for supply. If you read through that document, and it's a very well-written document. Obviously, the Aquaria plant right now certainly is probably the only option in the next several years anyway. So we wanted to take a hard look to make sure, but there have been multiple asks recently to myself from other communities inquiring about whether they can purchase water.
And I'm assuming that we would do our due diligence and have someone qualified, give us a report on the condition of that.
We certainly wouldn't just hop right in and negotiate a purchase without determining what the asset was worth in the condition.
I'm sure the mayor's qualified. He's, knows a lot about a lot of things.
Yeah, I haven't been friends with Aquarius since I sat up there with you guys, and I'm still not a great friend of Aquaria, but I will tell you that when Councilor, then Mayor Rodriguez met with them versus when I came in, they jacked the price up. So we have not had any conversations with them in a very, very long time. But I do think it's important to at least do some due diligence and some feasibility. But again, we have to see, where they are. They're still in the red. I mean, they're not making any money on it. But again, if we did acquire it, it would be collectively conversations. Everybody up there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? DPW Water. Councilor Farwell.
Just one request of either Dr. Clarkson or the mayor or Commissioner Hill. We hear this all the time, but I would like to get an updated memoranda or communication in writing from the state that we are required to have an alternative water source capable of producing at least 2 million gallons per day. It may have existed years ago, but if the state is going to mandate, there's a reason why I want it in writing. If the state is going to mandate, then I'd like to see that. And I'd like to have that shared with the rest of the council and with the community. If that's what they want, then put it in writing, give it to us, and then we can operate from that point forward.
Yeah, and in the state's own way, we do have that document that came directly from Boston.
Okay, well, I don't want something abstract. I want someone in authority to say.
No, this comes from the commissioner, so.
Okay. That's good, thank you.
Can I just ask a question through the chair?
Go ahead.
So if the state, I'm just trying to educate myself, so if the state says, no, we're not mandating that, then I assume that we wouldn't need to even deal with this issue? Or
Are you talking to me?
I'm trying, to anyone who was qualified to answer that question.
No, well, from my perspective, through the chair to you, I very much value the report that was just done by Old Colony Planning Council. I do think all options should be on the table. I will tell you that as we get to the end of our lease agreement with Aquaria, they're going to be scrambling around because they're going to be left with no income whatsoever unless we either purchase the plant or we sign an extension. Perhaps we want to sign an extension favorable to us because they're not going to have an alternative. They haven't found a single additional customer. So I think there's some synergy now to put us in a much more favorable position than we have been over the last 20 years. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
But if the state says you do not need to do that, you do not need to have the secondary source, then that would mean that we would not need to pursue.
No, I think we should pursue through the Old Colony Planning Council, that group that they formed, and that we should network with all of the other communities, determine who has a need, how many million gallons per day is needed to satisfy all of those other communities, and then we might be able to pool our money.
Okay.
For $9 million, you could buy a lot of water from another community if they were willing to work with us.
Council, it's an important discussion, and we should table it for a resolve or some point in the future.
Thank you.
I appreciate those questions and answers.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Nothing further on DPW Water. We'll move on to DPW Sewer.
DPW Sewer, Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Mr. Hill.
Councilors. So the mission of the sewer division is to maintain 320 miles of collection pipe throughout the city, with again 23 active services. We have a team that's on call, and we respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's a very busy department. We do a lot of routine repairs. We install and inspect a lot of new sewer lines. We mark out services for contractors, assist in the maintenance of a couple of the pumping stations, and work with Veolia, who runs our wastewater treatment plant. This is a department that's fairly small, I guess, in size. There's about 15 guys that work there. And I don't think I've said it yet, but I want to say that every single one of my guys, every single day, comes in, they do their job. I can't be happy enough with their performance. They do a lot of difficult work. This department does a lot of difficult work. I'll give you a quick example. When we had an issue over here on Frederick Douglass at the O'Brien, I think it's the Bryan Hotel? The Great Hotel Grayson, where they're renovating the Hotel Grayson, and all the sewer pipes were open in the basement, and the sewer main plugged outside and filled the basement with 4 feet of raw sewerage. My guys didn't even flinch. They went out there, they did a great job, and cleaned it. And this isn't, cleaning with a machine. This is getting down there and cleaning. This is difficult work. Much like the water work in the winter, much like the highway work in the summer, repairing potholes and cutting trees down. And, my guys do a lot of work. There's not a lot of us. We got a staff of about 80. And when you look at, citywide, 80 seems like, oh, geez, that's a pretty big department. But that's 80 people scattered over shifts, 4 to midnight. I have guys on during the day, I have guys on during the weekend. And we maintain a lot of infrastructure. And, there are more school custodians than there are people in the DPW. So it's just, I couldn't be more proud of the guys that work for me. And they do a great job. These guys are no different. And just one more note, and shame on me, especially when we got a little off topic with the engineering department, but this is the first year without Howard Newton. Howard Newton, I'm sure we all know, 64 years working for the city. Great person. Great city employee, and may he rest in peace.
A legend. Absolutely. Councilors, DPW Sewer. Councilor Razak.
Thank you. Commissioner, just a question. I know that the other departments also have them, but you have a repair person that does the repairs on the equipment. I know that a number of years back, we added individual repair people to repair the equipment. Is that saving us money, or do you still have to get?
So I think what you're talking about is the CCTV operator, so that person goes out and does all the inspections of all of the sewer mains.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that
Thank you.
person and that vehicle and equipment has paid for itself 10 times over. We also use that equipment in stormwater, looking through, through drains. But we probably save $100,000+ a year having that person on staff.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Texiera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commission. On expense summary, property damage claim, it went up to 100%.
So we see a lot of, when we get, and this is something that we've kind of been working our way through. Typically, the law office was paying, settlements through their budget, and not necessarily recovering the reimbursements. We've been working with them to make sure that when there is an issue in the sewer, if sewer backs into someone's house and they have a claim and there is damage, once that gets to the point of settlement, we pay the settlements out of the sewer. We saw a couple this year that were extensive, based actually on a stormwater issue, but, because they came through people's toilets, and effectively there was some raw sewage in there. We had to make some pretty sizable settlements, but that number will fluctuate every year. But based on last year, we just wanted to make sure that we had enough in there to cover it.
On the same page, it says goods and supplies, property damage claim. You got $100,000 on the very bottom.
So for the goods and supplies would be any equipment that we would have to purchase, anything that we would have to purchase, to the chemicals or anything specifically tied to any kind of claim.
But it says property damage claims.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. This is one of those items that's been in the budget, Council, for so long. I actually have a pretty detailed list of expenditures.
So the difference is, and I have here, Counselor, an updated, as of this week, printout of what's been spent in each of those, and if you'll give me a minute, I can call it up. But the difference is that in response to some of those damage claims, Pat's right, goods and supplies would be actual things that have to be purchased to address those claims, where purchase of service might be if there's an external company that needs to be hired to address them, whether they're going to help provide support, if it's a cleanup like a disaster relief, and I'm just guessing here, but the kinds of things that are in purchase of services versus goods and supplies. So goods and supplies would be equipment and things that you would need to address it, whereas purchase of service would be an outside company that you would hire to assist in something, and that's why that's in both of those areas.
So I think we should rename instead for property damage claims, because it's confused. When you see property damage claims on the expense summary, then on goods and supplies, you got property damage claims also, so, you know.
And as you know, Councilor, we always seek constant improvement, and I think that's a great suggestion that we'll look at for the budget for next year. And I'm making a note of that right now.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, if you were around.
Anybody else?
Okay, you spent 149 this year.
Clerk, item number 18.
Item 18, DPW Stormwater, Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Last but not least, my favorite department. So I think we kind of talked a lot about stormwater, the stormwater fees, what goods and services are in this budget. Obviously, most of the services that are involved with the stormwater budget relate to highway work, whether it be, storm drain cleaning, river cleaning, assisting in sampling at any of the outfalls for the MS4 program. We have a new stormwater commission that was established. We're working our way through some stormwater projects that have been kind of backlogged. There's some money in there for some consultants to try to get us over that hump, to get that stuff up and moving. But I'm happy to take any questions.
Councilor Darren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
And obviously, for the past, couple months, you and I have been talking a lot. I just want to, take the time to thank you and your team, for a job well done. And obviously, some of my colleagues acknowledge, your men and women, who have been unwaveringly dedicated their time and effort to making sure that this city, runs. And on Monday, I made a comment in terms of the educational department in the city, Brockton Public School, as one of the most important, department that we have in the city. But I think yours is pretty close to it in terms of like what you guys are doing down there. And I don't have the ability to thank each and every single one of them. But when I call you for potholes, you pick up the phones. When I called you for, putting lights on the street after people calling me day in and day out, your men and women go out there and fix that. And obviously, I don't have the ability to give you all the money that you need, but I think it's important for people in the city to understand that, DPW is not something that, take anything for granted. And obviously, and you acknowledge it, winter time, summer times, any moment, they are there to making sure that our city is running. And some of these people, they don't make that much money. And they may look very busy, they may look very exhausted, but they don't make those like $100,000 and none of that. These are people that are making $40,000, $50,000, and then truly enjoy what they do. And you acknowledge it. When there's a sewage problems, they are the one that you call. So when there is a pothole to be fixed, earlier this morning, I saw, two of your guys, fixing some potholes in my neighborhood, and I think this was pretty amazing. And obviously, we don't have the time to thank them, and I think the sentiment is across this council in terms of acknowledging, what these people represent in terms of the day-to-day activity, but in regard to your budget, obviously, I will support that, as always, but I just want to, take the time to, to thank them for, like I said, for their, dedication and commitment to making sure that this place, is running, every single day. And you, as the captain of that ship, has been, out there, and I've seen you pretty much everywhere, whether people ask you or not, you are there, whether or not to cut the trees, to cut some bushes that is, blocking traffic, or have a blind spot, you are there. So we talk about, millions, but oftentimes we don't acknowledge, these people out there. So I just want to take the time to say thank you to you publicly and all these people in your departments for a job well done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councilor.
Councilman Minichiello.
I would just like to also compliment you, Mr. Hill. When I call you, you are very receptive with regard to some issues of my constituents, and your staff are also very good. I was firsthand at a constituent's property, and your guys were courteous, knowledgeable, helpful. So I just want to give you a compliment and your crew. Good bunch of people, and thank you for all of your help. When I give you that phone call, you return the call, which is great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor.
Councilman Castro.
Thank you. Good evening. As you know, today we received an email from a resident
I saw
who's
it.
been
Yep.
paying attention to the Stormwater Authority and has concerns. But that's not a topic for tonight. We're talking numbers tonight. So tomorrow I'm going to file a resolve inviting you in, whoever else you'd like to bring from your authority, to talk about these things and maybe make some suggestions. I think that would be the best way to handle it. Stormwater is a problem throughout the city. I'm especially aware of it in Ward 4, various locations. So we'll do it that way. And as for getting this authority up and running, let's see what happens.
It's been a difficult path, but it's...
Of course it has, yes.
We're working on it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to number 19, City Council.
19, City Council, Timothy Cruz, City Clerk.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening, Mr. Clerk.
First thing I want to do is, and most of you are pretty well aware of what we do, but in the first budget, I believe, is clerks, but I would be absolutely remiss if I were not to thank my staff. They do everything. You guys deal with them on a regular basis. I think you all deal directly with Diane quite a bit, but she's not the only one. Everybody in my staff is cross-trained to do about every job, and they do it with a smile on their face every day, which makes it fun to come to work, and it makes, in fact, Diane raised the flag at Portuguese Flag Day the other day, and Sydney gave her some wonderful kudos for keeping everybody in City Hall smiling all the time. So, again, I want to thank my staff for all that they do to make coming to work so enjoyable. I think you know most of the work we do. Just a little bit of updating. Just this year, we've handled 1,500 death certificates, 2,138 birth certificates, 517 marriage certificates, 545 marriage intentions, and 396 business certificates. That's just some quick notes I put together today. And thanks to Troy's staff, checked yesterday morning, and as of yesterday, we've brought in revenue of $514,000, which is more than a third of the budget of the two offices. And so a lot of what we do is paid for by what we do. And I think, usually I would say let's not talk about both budgets, but if you'll notice, my city clerk's personal services is down quite a bit, and personal services in the city council is up quite a bit. It was really a matter of driving the staff in Troy's office a little crazy, but of matching with Munis to make sure that a lot of it had to do with overtime, and to make sure that the jobs that the staff is doing are really where they belong under city council in many cases. Now, you may say, why are they under city council? But a lot of what we do and a lot of the time that we spend is on what we happen to call spring licenses, with all the motor vehicle repair licenses, auto body repair, garage licenses are very time consuming and just a little bit exciting. A couple of people that were mentioned last night have been huge help to us. We now have Stacy Verdi from the law office, Jim Doucette from Inspectional Services, and George DePina, and working with Deputy Weeks and from the Fire Department and Lieutenant Schliemann. We now have a team, and we've been meeting regularly with some of the worst offenders of violating their licenses or not even having licenses on the motor vehicle repair, and we're cleaning them up, and it's been a big step in the right direction. In some cases, we've had some councilors sit in on those meetings. In some cases, we've not. But it's a big step towards cleaning up one of the worst problems in the city in driving down the street. And I know Councilor Nicastro will back me up on that. We had a meeting with 955 Montello Street last week, 2 weeks ago. And there's 3 licenses there, and this team is really cleaning them up. Stacy Verdi is taking the people who don't clean up, she's taking them to court. And it won't happen overnight, but it's takes away a lot of frustration for me, because we never were able to enforce these things, but now we're getting the work done mostly because of what you people did a couple of years ago with the Inspectional Services Department. So I look forward to that cleaning things up, and take any questions you have.
Councilor Darren Court.
It's not a question, but I think last year that I believe I made a comment in regard to your office, and obviously, I've seen it myself and talked to your staff. They are tremendous, excellent people, really believe in what they do and what have you. But given the, demographic and diversity of people that I believe you pretty know where I'm heading with this, that we are serving in the city. I would
we
love
do
to
have
see.
one opening, and we'll.
Yeah, I would like I
we're
said.
setting up interviews, and I don't know if any are Haitian.
I would leave it there, Mr.
I don't
Clerk,
know
so
if any are Haitian speaking, but if they are, they'll certainly have.
I would love to see somebody in the office that can actually speak that language. And they
We
don't
would
have to
too,
be
because
Haitian.
it can be a frustration at the front counter for us. We're one of the offices that other offices in this building come to help. Diane speaks Portuguese. We have several Spanish speakers, Cape Verdean. It's amazing to me to come out to the counter and see customers, and that's how we view them, with a relieved look on their face, because they're coming to do things that oftentimes are scary for them. They don't understand a lot, and to know that they have somebody that can speak to them makes a big difference. But Haitian is a problem for us now. Fortunately, so many people that didn't grow up in the U.S. speak multiple languages, and they can usually, a lot of our Haitian speakers will kind of migrate over to Spanish and able to converse. But it would be, we would like to have somebody who would help our staff, because they try to give great service, and sometimes it's difficult. So we oftentimes will have somebody from the mayor's office come over to help, but Haitian is a...
Shout out, Kevin Blaze.
Kevin Blaze.
I can attest.
But Haitian is an issue in the building, and again, we'll look for that when we can.
Absolutely. I can definitely, attest to that, because sometimes, I'm still learning the language, to be honest with you. And
I am too, by the way.
And I know sometimes how intimidating it can be, just to approach somebody that you would like to speak to, but unfortunately do not have the ability or the vocabulary to express yourself. And I think, given the business that your office is doing, especially with wedding, and I see them, and sometimes they would love to talk to you, but the only thing that they can do is smile. And I think that's
and we do manage to, we find a way through, but we don't want to just find a way through. We want to give that service. So if we can find the right person, we certainly will, and we have spoken about that.
Thank you,
It's not that my staff has a lot of turnover, so
thank you, Mr.
that is something we're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Councilor Tavares.
Good evening, thank you again. Just to finish the compliment, because I have a huge, tremendous compliment to your office. I think I am the most counselor frequent to your office. Your office, let me put this way, I think your office, they well-class and professional. I'm so speechless about the way I can express attitude in your office and the environment, the flowers, the candy, let me tell you. And I like every time, one time I was there, nobody was seeing me, I was right behind. I think they have someone else tremendous, like a mental issue, but the way they handled the situation, especially her, I was very impressed. And every time I come here, I'm always say hi over there. I just want to say, stop by to see what's going on. But I want you guys to keep it up. That's the most beautiful. I'm not put up with that office because I used to be city employees. But I think your office, the other office should take an example followed by that. Because they are very extremely happy and higher customer service. This is what we're looking for, and I hope the other office take the same legacy. That can make life easier for everybody and make everybody want to come to the city. Like I said, even though I don't have nothing to do business over there, but I just want to stop it by a little quick. And
Thank you
thank
very
you, I
much. And,
appreciate it
again,
so much.
Thank you very much, and I am very proud of the staff, and
Yes, it should be.
we feel like we're representing all of you when we're doing our work, so
The
we
leadership
thank you.
is incredible. And thank you again.
Councilman Minichiello?
I just want to say I have no problems with your budget. I want to compliment you for your knowledge, your assistance, what you bring to this body in terms of assisting us, helping us when we need it. And I also want to compliment your staff. It's a very welcoming office when you go in for whatever documents, be it a death certificate or what have you, or I should say birth certificate. That's much more positive. But your staff's great. They're very kind, and it's a nice experience. You leave and you say that was I'm in City Hall, and that I certainly wasn't in the registry of motor vehicles. That was a nice experience. So. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Nope.
We'll go to the next item.
20, City Clerk, Timothy Cruz, City Clerk.
We just kind of did both, but. Any questions on the city clerk?
Well, come on, you're not on camera now. Go ahead.
I'm on camera, I believe.
Yes, you are. I said you're not
Actually, and I do actually thank you, though, Counselor, because, and I say this every year, but I sat there, and I know how difficult a job you all have. So I like to, I like to make sure that when you need something, we can do what we can. And I'd be remiss also if I didn't say it's been a great time. I've served with, the mayor and I came in together on the council, and we served together, and it's been a great run, and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Thank you.
We all set?
Councilors, any questions for the city clerk? Seeing none, we'll close that line item and move on to the next one. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 21, Finance, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer.
Dr. Clarkson, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. It's been my pleasure to spend the last few nights with you. Happy to wrap things up here. We spend time together often, so you know well the functions of my office, and I get the opportunity to talk to you about the innovation that we've been able to bring to the city these last several years, and the increase in transparency and accountability we've been able to bring. I speak often of my team, but I do want to take a moment because a few members of them are here. Budget Director Elvira Lopes joined us just a short time ago. We were able to poach her from Rockland Trust. And I mean this very sincerely. I've been in public life for more than 30 years, and the team that I have working with me now is the finest I've had in my career, and Elvira is the leader of that team. And she brings the team up to, and they're motivated and excited to come to work every day, and she's created a culture and an environment where they push themselves to improve with her tonight are two of our financial analysts. Erin Vega, who's I'm sure well known to you, has been with the city for a very long time, and we were able to get her on our team recently. And Megan McKee is a recent addition who has brought the ability to innovate and raise the level of technological advancement in our office light years. We now have Excel tools that do things that I didn't even know Excel could do. But it's resulted in a better sharing of data, better accountability of health insurance and of school spending and negotiations with unions, you name it. We have a tool that helps us deal with it on a better basis. So I'm the face that you get to see, for better or worse, all the time, but it's the folks sitting behind me who are the heart and soul of the finance department. And I wouldn't be able to present the professional items like this budget if I didn't have them working with me every day. So they're the heart and soul of the department. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this budget. It's pretty straightforward. We are fully staffed for the first time in a while. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again. We have 2 grant writer positions. One is now vacant. Jane McNulty has moved on, but that position will be filled. But together, the cost of those 2 grant writer positions is about $160,000 a year. We're on track this year to bring in close to $300,000 in revenue from the administrative reimbursement from grants. So those 2 positions more than pay for themselves. They have exceeded our expectations, and our expectations were high. So we'll continue to provide excellence to all departments with those 2 folks. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Clarkson. Councilor Farwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Clarkson, you know I meant no disrespect when I told you earlier that I double and triple check your work, because you and I go back and forth all the time over financial issues, because it's really the foundation on which the city operates.
Amen.
It's how we
Yes.
provide services. So I'm just going to call attention for the public and for my colleagues to page 285 in the budget book. And I want people to take a look at the fact that your staff oversees about a $550 million budget, over $500 million, $500 in overtime, and only $905,817 in personal services, non-overtime. To me, folks, that's extraordinary. To me, that is a group of people who cooperate with one another, they apportion the work, they share information, they network with all of the other departments, including the school department. I think that's pretty remarkable. So $905,817 plus $500 for overtime. It's actually a 13% reduction this year. But to carry out the duties and responsibilities that you have, particularly where now the schools are an integral part of what you do, I'm pleased that we have your staff. I'm pleased at the work that they do, and I thank you as a resident and as a counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Clarkson.
Good evening.
You're almost finished. On page 286, under purchase of service, we have department equipment repair and maintenance, $3,000. First time in a while. What's that for?
We did, if you look, we switched that from department equipment rental and lease, and so it's just a shifting, as we've done in many lines, to better reflect where those costs are, where they're coming from. So as you know, for the copiers, we shifted the actual copy costs to the IT department, but there are still other costs related to that, and so we're just reflecting that where we think it belongs in the budget.
Okay, well, what is it to rent or lease?
We have, I want to ask our budget director. It is the copy machine. All right. Yeah, that is the actual copy machine.
Copy machine. Okay, thank you. And then up above there, under personal services, second line, part-time salaries, what is that for?
So we've been very successful in bringing in interns on a regular basis. We've had employees that have gone from being interns to being analysts. Sarah Butler recently moved on from the school department as a school business manager in another district, and so it's a great training ground to create municipal finance professionals, so that money has been spent to bring in interns. In the past, we also used the services of my predecessor from time to time, particularly when we were going through the pension obligation bond process. We haven't engaged Jay as much the last few years, but as we look to assembling that same team again to look at the debt for the high school, we may re-engage him, because that's a substantial project, and we've put that same team back together to try to plan for that $600 or $700 million project.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say, it's been quite a tumultuous couple of years, and you're still standing.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed. I sure am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. CFO. Thank you for this budget. Thank you for, being here all these nights and explaining things to us. So I just have a question, and I know that we've relied on ARPA funds to help us with some projects. Is there any more ARPA funds available? I know that we have until, I believe, next year to use up what we have acquired, but is there any of what's left? There you go. Thank you, Councilor.
Yes, as a matter of fact, and when Councilor Farrell was talking about apportioning the work, we're able to do that on our team and really develop specialties. Aaron Vega has been the point person on overseeing our ARPA funds, and we talked about this at Accounts Committee, and I suggested we have a resolve to come in and talk in detail, but we have a phenomenal spreadsheet that Aaron has put together that accounts for all of the federal and the county ARPA funds. The total appropriation was about $51.8 million. All of that has been allocated, but we still have remaining unspent about $4.3 million because not all the projects are done. But we do anticipate when some of those projects are complete, there may be remaining balances that we're able to allocate. And just this week, the county treasurer notified the mayor and me that from their surplus, they are going to be able to allocate an additional $850,000 to the city.
Wow.
So there are remaining funds, and we have a pretty close accounting of all of those projects. Just to give you one example, so the total cost of this project for the HVAC and the roof here is $13.1 million. We've expended about 11 million of that, so there's about 2 million left, but the project isn't complete. But we have that very specific breakdown of all of those projects, and I will share this with you, but again, suggest that we come back under a resolve so we can bring Dan Pallotta in as well.
The air conditioning's working?
When the air conditioning is working, and have a real thorough discussion of that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Councilor, great question. A couple things. When Chief Perez was here, there was a request for $170,000, which would pay for 5 vehicles. I've committed another $170 of ARPA money, so Brenda will be able to have 10 new vehicles at the price that they can acquire them right now in 2025. Also, I've told all of you that there's a fresco like this downstairs. And we want to showcase that fresco. So the amount for City Hall does not include the amount that we're going to need to show the fresco. It can't be shown in its entirety because the fire that was here, there's some steel beams, but there is going to be some additional funds from ARPA that we're going to be utilized to show a portion of the fresco, which actually goes from my front door of City Hall all the way down to the clerk's office. But again, when we reached out to the treasurer today, he has some additional funds. Some municipalities in Plymouth County were unable to spend the money. We're shovel ready. So any additional money we can get. If there's any respective wards requests or at-large requests, please shoot them our way. The only thing I can tell you at this time is send the request. There's no promise, but if we can do some additional things in the woods and the whole, the whole city, we will do that. I do want to thank all of you that have been working with us on the playgrounds. They're game changers. Councilor Lally was there the other day. I just spoke to Councilman Ancello, and we're going to continue to do that. So great question, Councilor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you again, Mr. CFO and your team for this well-put-together budget. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Darrencourt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Clarkson, and of course, it's good to see you and your staff. In regard to page 286 under tuition and training, and I see that in your FY 2024, that dash, obviously no money, and FY 2025, dash again, no money, and FY 2026, $1,500. Can you talk to me a little bit about this?
Certainly. The tuition and training has been an emphasis and a priority for Mayor Sullivan during his tenure. We had to ramp back in tuition and training last year because of the fiscal challenges, but it's really important. A lot of what we do is technology-based. Software is changing, tools are changing all the time, and so it's really important to provide the team you see behind me with the tools to be able to continually innovate and update their capabilities.
Excellent. So if I understand this correctly, so technically for the FY 2025 and carry on to 2026, there's no money for training from now on until next year. Is that correct?
Right. So this $1,500 would be available literally in a couple of weeks.
Okay, sounds good. So for your out-of-state travel, and I see that in FY 2024 it was only $632. I'm assuming that's what you spent, and I believe that's a request $7,500, and 2026 it's like $15,000. That's pretty high. Can you explain why it's like?
Sure. Yeah, and that is intentional. I think one of the things that we have done with travel, and as I think you all know, we adopted what's called a P card or a purchase card system a few years ago that makes the kind of spending for travel much more efficient. The mayor and I regularly, usually a couple of times a year, travel to Washington to lobby for federal funding. And a lot of times when we do that, those expenses will be paid out of my department. Related to the tuition and training, some of the trainings for my staff are out of state, and so I want the ability for them to continually be trained and attend conferences so that they can continue to produce things like this budget book. And best practice conferences occur all over the place, so I do realize that's a significant increase, but it's also specifically designed so that our team can continue to provide the best service for you. And I would suggest in the scope of the entirety, as Councilor Farwell was discussing, of what we oversee, it's a small but very important investment in our professional development.
Thank you, Dr. Clarkson. So to go back to that tuition and training, so, I mean, it's like, I know how important it is to train people, and obviously, sometimes, receiving like a couple hours of training can be very detrimental to what you do as, as a city employee. So, like, why is this so small? I mean, it's funny, I'm asking you, why is this so small? Like, why is this only $1,500 for training and tuition?
Well, as literally the chief officer responsible for the budget, we do try to set an example. There are many trainings that are available at no cost. For instance, a few of our team were in Braintree Town Hall today at a training offered by Munis, our accounting software. So we do seek out trainings The Massachusetts Municipal Association does a phenomenal job. The Commonwealth itself, the Department of Revenue and the Division of Local Services provide training. So there is a fair amount of training that's available at no cost, and we seek those out, but there are some that do have a cost to them, so that's why you see that modest amount in there.
I mean, it's like, it's kind of like interesting, given the fact that, like, your team, I mean, you and your team, is responsible for more than $500 million. And look, I mean, it's funny because I'm the guy that, like, trying to chase every penny and talking about this and saying that you are only requesting $1,500. It's pretty humbling. I have to be, I have to admit it. But let me ask you a couple other questions. So, in regard to the question that I asked the auditor earlier, Dr. Clarkson, are there any invoices that will be received after June 30th?
We certainly hope there won't be, and I explained the steps that we take on a monthly basis to very closely track the finances of all of the departments, including now the school department. And we also have vendors that we deal with regularly, and we communicate with them to try to get them to submit their bills on time. But as you see, when we come before you, from time to time, there are vendors that will submit their bills late, and they are for services that were rendered, so we're obligated to pay them and to bring them to you. So I'm not aware at this moment of any late invoices that will be received after June 30th, but if so, you'll know because we'll have to bring them to you.
Yeah, let me just ask you this. It's like, I mean, obviously you do not know. Let's say that we have. Do you think one of them will be amount to at least $1 million? Open contract that we haven't paid?
No, I don't think so. And because in addition to tracking our payments and versus the budget versus the actual spending, there are some vendors that have purchase orders that are open, and those through the auditing office get closed, and so we don't allow those kinds of things to be carried over. So it would be extraordinary for a bill in excess of $1 million. It happens from time to time. For instance, I think Commissioner Hill has been before you because of reductions that were made in the budget and expenses that were carried over as prior year bills, like we did that with Aquaria, and that exceeded $1 million. So it does happen from time to time.
So the reason why I'm asking you this is that, I mean, obviously earlier you were here when I was, questioning the auditor. It's the fact that, I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say that. It's like, I don't want to deal with the unexpected. I mean, especially given the situation that we went through, right? At the end of the day, we got to watch every penny. And if there's a bill that needs to be paid, I'm in favor of paying it. But in regard to something that one of my colleagues stated, it seems like, oftentimes it's not really the city that is not paying the bill on time, but it's the vendors that is submitting those, requests late. So how do I put this? Correct me if I'm wrong. In working in collaboration from your office to the auditor's office, in terms of like paying these bills, do you or does the auditor's office have an obligation to reach out to these people and saying that, hey, listen, where's your bill? Because we need to pay it. Do you guys do that?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And if you do, they ignore it, what are the consequences?
Well, as I said, I mean, if a vendor provides a service, then under the law, we have an obligation to pay.
So it doesn't matter when they submit it?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. They have a window, and we pay a bill from a prior fiscal year if it's within that fiscal year. But I think, generally, in our experience, mine individually and collectively us as a city, we have pretty good relationships with vendors, and they're usually very responsible about submitting their bills or their invoices. From time to time, as I said, those lapses can happen, and they do happen, but the process to remedy that is very public for a reason. It's so not only you, but I would suggest, frankly, as importantly, if not more so, so that the public is aware of how we're allocating those resources. And that's where we have to come to you to pay those so that it's out in the open.
So I'll end with this. Here's what I'm trying to avoid, right? Obviously, every department has a budget, right? Whereby this city council collectively, voted on it. And on Monday, we're going to take this budget and we're going to vote on it. I just want to deal with bill that haven't been paid from FY 2024 carry on to 2025 when we are dealing with 2025, 2026. Because to go back and pay that, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like complicated. And that's why I'm asking you whether or not we have pending bills that will pass June 30th. Because by Monday, I'm pretty positive this budget will pass. And how do I answer a question to my constituent asking me, why do you guys are going back to pay a bill that was supposed to be paid on last budget? That's what I'm trying to avoid. And obviously, based on what you stated, it seems like we're not going to have that problems. And I really want to have it on record. At least I can have something to say. But at the end of the day, like I stated earlier, your office just come up with more than $500 million budget, and each department has an obligation, as the auditor stated, to, how do I put this, acknowledge what they have to be paid. And it seems like there's a lack of communication between different departments in regard to what she stated earlier. But based on what you said, I think, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Texiera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Clark. On purchasing service consultant, last year, I thought we combined all the consult from mayor's office, the law, everything. It was about $150,000. And this year, each one of those departments, like mayor's office, got on his budget, there's a consult on the law. But you're still asking for $150,000. Can you explain that to us?
Sure, of course. The first question first. We voluntarily adjusted, at the suggestion of a couple of councilors, adjusted the way that we budget for consultants in this current year's budget. And I can tell you, due to lots of reasons, trying to corral all of the departments to understand their needs, to then process and pay for out of one budget, I believe was not nearly as efficient as what was in place before and what we're suggesting we return to, and that is allowing each department to have their consultant's budget, but we still monitor that very closely. Mayor Sullivan put in place a process where all contracts have to flow through my office and his, anything over $10,000. And it gets very tight scrutiny, and it's checked against the budget so that there's no overspending. So I believe the process that we're suggesting we go back to is actually more efficient. But in my budget itself, we employ a variety of consultants to help us with the work that we do, and I'll list just a few of them for you. Mark Abrams is one of the foremost financial consultants and municipal finance experts in the Commonwealth. We engage him. You've heard us talk about, and I think you've heard reports from Peter Cook, who is an insurance consultant that assists us with our insurance, both our workers' comp and our health insurance and some of the specialty programs we have related to that. We have a consultant that assists us with the preparation of the budget book, very small amount, I think it's $4,000 or $5,000. His name is Art Kervels. We have a consultant that we used the last couple of years called CSS, and they've been a tremendous help with grant management, getting our grant program off the ground, helping us access and account for some of the large grants. And Pam Wood, who's a consultant for Munis that many of you have heard about, provides support for both us and the schools, and depending on exactly what she's doing, her bills could be paid out of finance or accounting. So there's a variety of consultants that we employ.
No, it's just because I did a quick math, just a quick math between the mayor's office and the law department and yours. It's almost over $300,000, but last year we worked with $150,000 to all those departments. I just don't see, do we overspend on consult last year? How much did we spend?
No, honestly, I would say the total amount of consultants, and I'll go back and look at what originally the number was proposed, but I think, and this is off the top of my head, but I'll confirm this for you, I think the total amount of consultants citywide was around $900,000, and that was significantly reduced by the council at your meeting last year. I think, frankly, there are projects that were not able to be completed or things that were not done because of the lack of funding available. Before you vote next Monday, I would be more than happy to give you a breakdown of what we spent the last couple of years so that you can see the value that those consultants are providing to us.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr.
You
Clerk.
bet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else on finance?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Mayor.
I used to be up there. I liked it up there. Just to kind of piggyback on what Councilor Ledge-Darencourt was saying, typically when any department, any employee in the city of Brockton wants to travel, either in the Commonwealth or outside of the Commonwealth for a conference, they have to come to my office and sit down with me with their department head to pitch it to me. Right? And typically they just come in and they explain where they want to go. You know, I'm going to Washington, D.C., I have to go to Florida, I have to go here and there. And I always say the same thing, well, that's great, but what's the value you're going to get out of it, right? Because it's not just to go on some trip, right? What is it? And they always report back, and I would say 9 out of 10 times it's approved. These professional women right here, these teammates in the CFO's office, they actually did something last week that I've never seen before as a mayor or as a councilor at large. They didn't just come to my office. They invited me to the GAR room, and they showed me a presentation of why they want to go to a conference. And they presented it. Each of them had different parts. It was a PowerPoint presentation. It blew me away. These are the type of people that we have working each and every day at City Hall. I approved it. It's going to bring value added when they come back. But I just wanted to share that publicly because people don't know what we do each and every day here at City Hall. It might not seem like a lot, but as the CEO of the City of Brockton, I was, number one, thrilled to have them be able to present to me and Sydney Merrill, my chief of staff. I was amazed at the detail, and they answered every single question and then some. So I just wanted to give them a shout out, and Andrew in their office as well. And I have to, this is my last budget, so I have to give a shout out to the man to my left, Dr. Clarkson. Troy Clarkson is a phenomenal CFO. And during tough times, a lot of people bashed him. I witnessed it. A lot of people bashed me. But we had a common purpose to better Brockton, working with all of you. We continue to do that. And this is my 20th budget, and I've never seen a mayor stay all 3 nights. I never saw that. But I did that the last couple of years because of the value that each and every one of you. It was clear that the 14 days when those books were given you, all of you did your homework. And when I sat up there early on in 2006, 7, we saw people councilors opening the book for the first time that night. That doesn't happen in this group. So I just want to thank you. I have to thank the president for his leadership this year. Working with Jeff has been great. He and I don't always agree on things, but we agree that Brockton is a special community, and we always get to where we need to be. So I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. I want to thank the clerk. And again, I'll be here Monday night, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a pleasure to work with you all, and I hope you move forward favorably on this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Heartfelt thanks to the mayor for his kind words. It's my honor to be here and work with all of you. One final thought. I know it's hot, but I do have, actually, based on the expertise of the folks behind me, those numbers, Councilor. So we had suggested in that consolidated consultants budget $750,810. You did reduce it by $600,000, leaving us with $150,810, which is what's in your book. But that's the amount you approved. Since then, you have approved adding in $250,000 as departments have come to us, and so that has increased to $400,000, and of that, we've spent $379,776. So I'll give you that printout before Monday, so you can see just what that money's been spent on.
Well, I'd like to say, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Clarkson, and your team, I want to thank you for your time, your attention over the last 3 nights, your dedication to this city, is greatly appreciated. So great job, and kudos to all of you for the budget. I'd like to thank all the department heads who came through this chambers over the last 3 nights presenting their budgets. It was very enlightening, and it's always good to have the department heads before us so we can ask our questions, and everybody's always professional, and so we appreciate that. And to my fellow city councilors, well done, councilors. These last 3 nights were long, but I thought you guys did a thorough, professional, really bang-up job, and I think it was a testament to your dedication to this city, and I think we did our residents proud over these last 3 days. So thank you all. With that, we're going to debate budget cuts and vote on the overall budget at our next city council meeting this Monday, June 23rd. Prior to adjourning, we have a motion that needs to be made. So, Mr. Clerk, if you could just specify what motion.
We'll need a motion to recommend item 16, also known as appropriation order 1 through 7, to the full, favorably back to the full city council for Monday night.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to recommend this budget. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Oh, is it a roll call?
No, that's
okay.
fine. Just recommending back, and then
the motion passes.
passes. And we'll email blank sheets for the cuts to all of you, so if you want to pre-fill out any, but other than that, Monday night, we'll do the cuts at the council meeting.
And councilors, before we adjourn, we'll give a minute for councilor recognition. Any councilors want to be recognized? Councilor Darrencourt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my truly honor tonight to welcome, one of the most famous Haitian comedian, in the audience. I believe he's #1, not because I'm saying so, but because he is. As a kid, I used to watch this young man over there. Tonton Bichat, do you mind? His name is Daniel Fizeme. And if you know it, thank you. Thank you. And unfortunately, I did not invite him to come and perform for us. I'm pretty positive next year, during this moment, we will have that. But I want to thank the chairman for actually giving me, an opportunity to acknowledge this young man right here. So I'm not saying that you're old, but I remember vividly as a kid, I used to watch you performing down there. And it's an honor to have you here at City Hall. And obviously, with the diversity that we have, I'm pretty positive we will welcome you back to do something positive in the city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleagues for actually acknowledging.
Thank you, Councilor, and welcome to City Council Chambers. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. With that, I declare this budget hearing closed.